The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2018 IPA Freesports Champions Cup. It's week number 6, and we are in Solihull. That's what we've got to look forward to tonight. Luke Sangees versus Andy Blurton, Phil Parkin versus Lee Warren, Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb with you this evening into week 6 of the competition now, Simon, and it's really starting to take shape.
Yes, it is. We've seen some exciting pool up to this point, and looking forward to some more tonight.
This is what we have seen tonight, so far up to this point. Solihull tonight, week number 6, through already to the next round. Mark Farnsworth, Rona McCarthy, Craig Marsh, Christian Phillips and Jason Rimington. Last week in Sheffield we saw our first seed eliminated, Jordan Shepherd beaten in week 5's final. Luke Sangees is the seed tonight, and he will have watched last week and be praying that doesn't happen to him. Yeah,
and he's up against it tonight. Andy Blurton is a fantastic player, and he's a first-year professional, which is probably why he's not seeded. But fast forward a year or so, and we'd fully expect him to be in the top 16 seeds. He's at that level.
Yeah, Luke Sangees just on the left of your picture there. Andy Blurton on the right. Just lagging up now to decide who gets the first break, and we're very much looking forward to this one. First of a 3-week stint here in Solihull, and fair few of the IPA circuit gathered here this week on their way back down from Aberdeen. They use it as a halfway house. There's a tour event up in the very north of Scotland at the weekend, and I don't think anyone fancied going all the way south home. That's why you're here, at least.
Yeah, no, I've done exactly that. Yeah, I've stopped halfway home. There's definitely a nice crowd in tonight. There's a number of tour players here. I think you just saw Neil Raybone in the background here supporting his mate Andy. It should be exciting.
It'll be Andy Blurton then with the break.
Andy's got a massive break normally. It didn't seem to quite catch that as clean as he can. I mean, he caught it quite nicely, but Andy's break is as big as there really is on the tour. But having said that, he's still got a very, very nice split, and he's made a ball.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. And he'll be taking a look at these and will generally be pretty satisfied. Surveying the table, 45-second shot clock is in force tonight, as it is on every week of the Champions Cup. Players get one extension per frame of 30 seconds.
Yeah, and he's been handed quite a nice split here. He's just got a problem with the red and yellow in the middle of the table. I don't think it passes to the bottom left. If it does pass to the bottom left, then this is a very, very good chance for Reds. If it doesn't, then he needs to cannon that out somehow.
And as you mentioned, I think there, Simon, the rest of the Reds look fairly straightforward. This is maybe his toughest, well, it's certainly his longest pot that he'll want to take on.
Yeah, it's a really brilliant shot. It's a sort of two-way shot as well. He's played that. It obviously didn't go. He's played it in such a way that if he doesn't make the pot, then he's going to take the pocket with the shot as well. But he's made the pot, and if he's on the next ball, then he'll be happy. If he's not, then he'd rather that had just stayed in the jaws. And I don't think he is on the next ball.
It was a really lovely little bit of billiards, but you might have to conjure up something else if you stood here at the table here.
Yeah, it's one of those shots that you're going to get close to the jaws, but you never fully expect to make it. I think in this situation he'd rather not made it.
Shot clock ticking, you can hear it. He's just elected to break up his red ball next to the yellow, and he's actually left a pretty good white ball there. Resting on the black.
Yeah, and he's got a little bit of control with the bottom corner, and the yellows to the other corner don't go because of the black, so reds are a little bit more dominant here than yellows. It's difficult for Luke to find a very good hiding place. I think he can only see two of the yellows. If he leaves the white in the top left-hand area of the table, then he's still going to be leaving a shot on. If you leave it in the top right, you're leaving Andy open look at balls, so it's difficult here for Luke.
Plays the pot, and I think that's more than anything just a chance to get another go at a safety.
Yeah.
Perhaps because it was so difficult to get safe off that.
Yeah, I think his plan possibly is to take, I think one of these yellows, I think the bottom one of those three that are in the screen now, I think might sneak into the, past the red into the corner pocket. I think he might be able to make it off the jaw and off the red and open up the pocket in the same shot. So he's thinking aggressively.
Well, that's what we love to see in this Champions Cup. It's fast and it's entertaining, and that's exactly what he's played. It hasn't quite come off for him.
It hasn't, but he'll be really happy with that. At the pace he played it, if he doesn't make it, there's every chance that yellow does come away from the pocket a little bit more than it has. But with the yellow double kissing and staying in that area, he's got control of that pocket now, and yellows are now probably, he's certainly even things up, and if not, he's ahead in this frame.
Yeah, quite often we've seen when the seeds rock up first time in the Champions Cup so far that they tend to fly away with the first match, but don't think that was ever going to be the case in this one. And even in the first frame, it's tight and it's technical.
Yeah, even though Luke's the seed, just the way since Andy's turned pro, Andy was a phenomenal amateur, won a number of amateur events before deciding to turn professional at the end of last season, which is why his ranking isn't as high as Luke's, arguably. There'll be many people that would have Andy down as favourite for this match, even though Luke's the seed. It's a very, very tight match to call.
One of those when Luke saw the draw come out for this Champions Cup, he probably would have been a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, he's certainly in the top 2 or 3 players outside of the top 16. That's for certain.
Just taking a look at that yellow, I'm not sure that sneaks in. I think he can. Well, I'm not sure if he can even see quarter pocket there.
Yeah, I don't think he can. He's got a pot on.
Is he looking at the plant maybe into the left middle?
I think what he's thinking is trying to play the yellow off the yellows at the bottom end of the table and try and get it going over towards the pocket. There we go.
There
Great
we go.
Shot. That's brilliant.
And it's particularly good as well because of the fact that he's pushed every single red now onto a cushion.
Yeah, those reds have inched worse and worse all the way through this frame. The yellows aren't very nice either. Even though Luke's played 2 or 3 great shots, the yellows are still horrible. There's no real finish on for yellows still.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it? When we saw the first break, we both thought good split,
Yeah.
got a ball down. This is looking pretty good for a nice quick frame. That's absolutely not been the case, and credit has to go to both players for making it exceptionally difficult for the other.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like there was one bad ball on the table for both players, but it's just the way the frame's gone. Each player is making the game harder for their opponent and making it tricky.
Just wonder if Andy's considering a skill shot. No, he just pops his red over that yellow, which makes it a little bit more difficult for Luke, who has now used his extension.
I mean, Luke's got quite a nice rounded game. He's not, he's more than capable of playing these frames and working out ways to win these frames. But I just think this style of frame probably suits Andy more than Luke. I think Andy's got one of the most rounded games on the tour. He can clear them up and dish with the best of them. He can have a wide open game and mix it with the very, very best. But he can also play this style, and he's very, very good at it. So possibly slightly to Andy's advantage playing this style of frame. But having said that, he's a long way behind in this frame.
tying that black up, as he's just done, will be of an annoyance to Luke in particular, and possibly for Andy as well. That red has gone pretty safe.
Yeah, at this stage, Andy's just trying to stop Luke from gaining an opportunity to clear up. So he's not thinking about trying to nudge his reds on. At the moment, he's trying to stop Luke from clearing up. He'll be slightly annoyed because I think from the right angle, that black will still go. So that red's probably travelled an inch or two too far for him. Yeah, the overhead shows that he can still get on that black. You can see it's just unfolding slightly better here for Luke.
And Luke doesn't necessarily have to worry too much about the red blocking his yellow in the bottom right. 8-ball rules dictate the nature of the skill shot might come into play. As long as you pot your own ball and hit your own ball first, you're pretty much good to go. You can pot another ball, but you just have to make sure that your ball goes in.
Yeah, I mean, it's still slightly awkward, that red being on top of that yellow for Luke, but it's more of a problem for Andy than it is for Luke. That's what's giving Luke the control in this frame. That last shot from Andy, he was just trying to cover this bottom pocket, but the black still goes along the bottom rail. So there is more options for Luke to get aggressive. I just wonder if he's considering playing this yellow off the cushion into the red. There we go. That's a really good shot for Luke. He's disappointed it hasn't gone in.
He's played a couple of those really, really nicely, actually. The little touch shots on and off cushions, off different balls.
Yeah, it's a really good shot because it's opened up that yellow for him. But if it had dropped on that shot then, if the yellow had over the pocket had dropped, then he would have had a good chance for the clearance. But now it hasn't. It's given Andy the opportunity to take this pocket and make it the black really, really difficult.
Yeah, it certainly does. I think round about now you can see a way that Luke could get rid of all of his yellows, but that black now becomes a real issue for him.
Yeah, and if the yellow had dropped on his previous visit, he was on the only awkward yellow. He could have played the yellow on as a plant, but the fact that it stayed up means Andy's just giving him more work. So it's a bit of cat and mouse here. So Andy can probably look just to bump one of his reds out now. He doesn't need to. He won't worry too much about Luke clearing up. So we may just see him get one of these reds out into open play.
That's actually quite a nice shot. I don't think he'll mind that red didn't drop.
Yeah, it would have been a bonus for him had it dropped, because he would have been able to get the other red out as well. But with him having control with the black covered, he can clear up the red next to the black and get, so he's trying to develop his balls whilst Luke can't.
And that's the thing for Andy here. If he can develop that final red on the cushion, you'd probably actually make him favourite for the frame at this point. Or is Luke going to go on a bit of a tear here? Is this the point where Luke decides to take the game to Andy?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's thinking that way, because he knows that if Andy gets to the table again, he'll bump his last red out, and then Luke's in trouble, because there'll be very few safety places on the table, almost forcing Luke's hand into going aggressively. He's actually probably a little bit annoyed that he was trying to screw past the yellow he's next to. If he screws past that, then he can play that yellow onto the other yellow over the pocket and cannon into the black, or black and red. But he's just caught the yellow instead of going past it. So he's got to change his plan. We're going to be in a situation where Luke's sort of going to put all his eggs in one basket now. He's going to play the long plant, and he's looking to leave an angle on the yellow that's nearest the black to be able to pop that yellow into the bottom right hand pocket and cannon the red and black out in the same shot. But with every ball that he pots, if he doesn't clear up, the more likely that Andy's going to win the frame. That's not great.
a lot higher than I think he wanted to be there.
Yeah, and the yellow that he's just played on has come further away from the pocket, making the margin of error on the pot very, very difficult, because he's got to play the yellow onto the yellow, and it's a little bit thin to get into the black. So he may choose to take the one over the pocket and try and get back across the table, but that's tricky as well.
Yeah, the amount of spin he's going to have to put on the ball to get that shot away is going to be very difficult. I think he's going to be forced into playing it. This requires a good shot.
Okay, it looks like he's got a big pocket for the double, so he's looking. This is going to be an incredible shot if he pulls it off. He's going to double the yellow into the right middle, cannon into the black, nudging the black onto the red, and leaving the black over the pocket. Oh, he's missed the double.
You can see he's thinking. White was perfect on the black. The red is down the pocket and out the way, but he needed that yellow to go in. And for a player of Luke's ability, that double wasn't a particularly difficult shot.
No,
it was. I think he was more concerned about cannoning the red with the white, and that's made him miss the pot.
Yeah, and the red over the middle pocket makes it quite a nice big pocket for the double as well. So he'll be really surprised to miss the double, and he missed it by a fair distance as well. But I think it's just the fact that he was concentrating on the cannon, which was the hardest part of that shot, that probably made him miss that double. Of course, if you miss the double, you don't want to make the cannon and get the plant, so get the skill shot element.
Yeah, and he's made good work of his clearance here. Used his shot and visit nicely to drop the red over the pocket, and since has been pretty consistent, and this should be fairly routine now for Andy Blurton to put the first frame on the board. Played that nicely, and barring a miracle, it will be 1-zip to Andy Blurton. Nicely done, and he's going to be delighted to win a frame like that, because whilst in theory it is only a hold of his break, to get the sort of the psychological advantage, if you like, to win a frame like that is going to be pretty huge for Andy Blurton. Here we take a look at Luke Samji's most recent tournament history. He's doesn't want to meet Gareth Hibbert for a little while, but he's been in pretty good nick.
Yeah, didn't have the best of weekends up in Scotland. Won a few matches, but didn't get particularly deep in either tournament, which they haven't been added onto our recent tournament history. So because we literally finished yesterday, but yeah, he obviously lost twice to Gareth Hibbert in Wales. I think a year or so ago he was really progressing well, because he's a very, very talented young Welshman, and probably hasn't had the best season. Or 2017 probably wasn't the best season he was expecting, because he was sort of really tracking in the right direction. In terms of winning a tournament soon. He was getting closer and closer, but he definitely has the talent to win.
Well, there's his first break, and he gets the red down, which is why he's still at the table, but I think he's going to be surveying this scene for a few more seconds yet.
Yeah, the first frame was a tactical battle, and we may end up in a tactical battle here as well. It depends whether... depends on a couple of things, whether the red at the top of the table pots, and he doesn't have another. I was going to say he could use that one to develop the other red, but the only red he would be able to pot is that one now, and he can't develop the red at the top of the table with that red, because he'll be going away from it. So reds aren't great, and then yellows are equally as messy. Tricky little situation here for Luke. So much so he's decided that just to play a sort of containing safety and say, over to you, Andy.
Yeah, didn't like that, did he? He just basically stepped away and said, well, let's see what Andy decides to do, because Andy doesn't have anything easy pot-wise here.
No, I'm assuming the red in the middle of the table doesn't pass to the bottom right corner, because if it does pass to the bottom right corner, it's a slightly bizarre shot choice from Luke, because it would means Andy could play that pot, and it would leave him a shot on the red at the top end of the table, cannoning into the yellow, which would develop the red at the top, and then all the other reds are okay. So I'm assuming this red doesn't go, but it sort of looks like it might do on the camera. Okay, so this camera angle clearly shows that it doesn't go, so that was a sensible shot from Luke.
Yellow's in play.
Just drops the yellow in.
Okay.
And his main issue, obviously now, is the yellow at the top of the table sandwiched in between those two reds. It looks like actually the pair of yellows next to it might well plant.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, was going to be if those two yellows plant, then he could play that and he can get an angle on those two yellows to pop the plant and go across and develop the yellow. Now they look like they're set to the jaw. Oh, they look like they're okay. They look like they are set to go to the jaw, but probably pot off the jaw. He's just going to be careful not to squeeze it off, but I think the shot's on. You can see where he's pointing his cue now. That's what he's thinking. He's thinking of the angle he wants to play off the plant. I think, or maybe he probably needs to squeeze it in, seeing it from this angle.
But actually, the thinner he plays that, if he does almost reverse it in, we might actually have a little bit more chance. But he'll have to play it at a pace where he can't put all the power into it. He's going to rely on it dropping, so it makes the cannon a bit more difficult as well.
Yeah, it looks like they're close enough together that if he plays, he can play the first one a little bit. If he can actually play it a little bit thicker, and it will make the one. It will make the pot. It will help the pot. Just the way when they're that close together, it will just squeeze in, and it looks like he's got an option to do that now. I think that's what he's going to play.
It just shows how difficult these first two frames have been to win, and the sort of shots that they're having to play. Oh, I tell you what.
Okay, so he just played it like a normal plant, so he didn't try and squeeze it. He just played it thin, as you said, and made the plant.
I think he's come up all right, you know, because that little nudge on the yellow will be of particular pleasure for him, because if he can still be on a yellow now, and I think he probably is on the one at the top cushion, but if he isn't, he's got the sort of safety net down the table. He can see the one at the top cushion.
He can, but this is very tough. I think it might be a safety shot. Yeah, it is. If he'd taken that pot on, it was so thin, it was very, very missable, and if he misses it, he's just leaving the frame wide open. So by playing that shot, he's really limiting Luke's options, because the only red he can see is the one he's next to, and he can't really do a lot with it. Clever shot from Andy.
Well, straight back at you. That's exactly what Luke's just done to Andy in reverse.
And Andy will probably do the same again to Luke. So this may go on for a couple of 3 shots now. It's quite rare with this rule set that this happens.
I was just about to say, yeah, it is, because the 8-ball rules dictate that if you don't pot a ball, you have to hit the cushion. Because basically, to stop scenarios like this where players can just roll up and roll up and roll up.
Yeah, but with the 2 reds so close to the cushion, they can both just feather off their ball and hit the cushion. I think it's going to take 2 or 3 shots to sort that out, potentially. Although Luke's taken his on.
Oh, he's played that well. That was not an easy shot.
Yeah, that was a brilliant shot. Looked like he might be a little bit too close to play this, because yeah.
Difficult as well. He has had to stab it and pull the key back pretty quickly to avoid playing a push shot.
Yeah, I'm surprised the way he's played that the whites managed to go forward without playing a push shot. I mean, the referee's right there, so he will have seen it, and if it was a push shot, he'd have called it. But it's one of those that when you dig down on it and it goes forward, it always looks like I'm surprised that wasn't a push shot. I'm also surprised he's missed that pot.
Yeah, because that was far easier than the one he's just played.
Yeah, after making the shot he just made, that was a very surprising miss. I think he might be okay. I think he's left Andy. I think the yellow he's nearest to he can pop, but it's incredibly thin into the centre pocket.
And also he's not guaranteed to be on his next yellow either.
Oh, that was brilliant.
Played that really well. He's had to play that with an awful lot of side. You saw the way the white came off the cushion. He's mentioned the natural angle was taking him into the black and the 2 reds to the left of the table, and he swerved around it quite magnificently.
Yeah, that was absolutely, that pot was so tough, and that's brilliant from Andy. And now this has got to be careful with this pot, but if this drops in and it's just routine, great shot. And the black actually didn't go to the bottom left corner until Luke played his previous shot. When he missed that pot, it's opened the black up as well. So fairly simple task here for Andy to take a 2-0 lead. Where's he pot the white? Oh, that would have been a bad error.
It would have been, yeah, having done all the hard work. So Andy Blurton here should go 2-0 to the good. And the second consecutive frame, he's had to work incredibly hard to win it. Beautifully done. And Andy Blurton does indeed go into a 2-0 lead. And he's in a good position here, because this next frame now becomes very crucial. If you're Luke Sanjis, you either go to 2-1 or you go to 3-0 down. It's a big next frame.
Yeah, it's a really big frame. I think what we've seen so far is Luke looking to be aggressive. He's looking, and he's happy to to play a safety shot. And both frames have had tactical elements. It's not just been open the balls up and go for the finish, but we've seen Luke want to push the boat out and go for finishes that are tricky. The surprising thing with the last frame is the fact that he's made a brilliant shot to give him the opportunity, and then he's missed the pot. The previous frame he was always chasing it and couldn't come up with a big shot to win it. This time he's made the big shot and then missed the next ball.
And quite often when Andy Blurton breaks, you don't get too much of a chance back.
Yeah, his break is as big as there is on the tour. Having said that, Andy's got one of the biggest breaks on tour. He's really not timed that break at all well. Neither of the first 2 breaks have been particularly big from Andy, which is a big surprise. It really is one of his big weapons.
Yellow's in play.
And to those Freesports viewers who just lost us for a few moments there, I do apologise for the loss of picture. As you can see, Andy Blurton has moved into a 2-frame lead, taking the edge in the tactical battle after Luke Sanjis missed a pretty routine pot after playing a very good one. 2-0 to the goods. Although Luke is
Luke's tried to develop his yellow on the right hand side into it just a little bit too much, and he ended up catching a red rather than yellow, and now he's left himself an open ball on, so it's another safety shot from Luke. The players would be able to put themselves a good chance on the
It has been really strange in that sense, hasn't it? That something for me to such hard work to win. Not really had a single frame where a player's really taken it by the scruff of the neck and taken it.
Yeah, it's bizarre how the game can go sometimes. Sometimes it's just the frames just, the balls dictate how the frames go, and the chances they're having are awkward. You really get the sense Luke is trying to push the boat out and try and earn, create something, and so far he just can't get anything going.
And even off the break, it's still not easy for either colour really, with the black tied up as it is. It's been a real graft, this one, which is, to be fair, not really what we've seen too much of on this Champions Cup tournament so far. Plenty of quick breaks and snappy finishes. It's actually a real change of pace, especially in our first game of the night, to have a real battle.
Yeah, it is. I think, and this definitely isn't the way that both players would want to play. Both players want to get the game open and go for their finishes. I think Andy's more comfortable playing this style of play. I think he has a more rounded style of game, although I think Luke has as well. I think he's a pretty well-rounded player, and it isn't just an all-out attack as a lot of players are. But you know, Luke does want to. Well, both players just want to get this game open and go for their finishes. But the problem with going for a finish when they're like this, you know, almost, and we've seen it with Luke in the first two frames, if you push the boat out and go for a finish and don't make it, you make the game easy for your opponent.
Yeah, that was exactly what we saw in the second frame. Luke played a lovely yellow along the top rail, very, very difficult shot, and then missed a pretty routine long pot, and from there on, it was pretty easy for Andy to take that. That's an adventurous shot from Luke, and I just wonder again, has he done something pretty similar?
Well, I don't think he was. I don't know whether he's not. I don't think he was thinking about going for a finish there. Although it's not really, he's not really played a safety. He's almost egging Andy on to go for this. Andy has one bad ball. Luke has one bad ball, and that the two yellow, the red and yellow that are together. Andy might be able to develop it here. Looking at a red into the centre off two cushions. Now has he? I think that red might sneak past the yellow in it's just a case of getting on it.
Well, even if he doesn't, he's got the option of playing it off the bottom rail and maybe nudging the red in that way as well. He'll be pretty happy overall with how that's come out, I think.
I think he's happy. Yeah, I think I think as long as it goes, he's happy because he can get on. He's got balls to get back onto it. I think the way he's played this, I think that suggests that red will sneak past the yellow.
Yeah.
And as long as it does, then he's got a great chance here. Although he's just overhit that positional shot a fraction. I think he probably wanted to be on the red down the rail, but he wanted to be closer on it. The one nearest the top rail as we look, I think he would like to be on that. But he is on it, but he wants to be closer.
Yeah, played that really nicely.
Yeah, it's a very, very good shot.
He's looked a little bit more solid than Luke, hasn't he, Andy, generally speaking?
Yeah, well, what we've seen from Andy so far is him just having to make the clearance once Luke's gone for it. The shot he played in the previous frame to win it, the cut into the middle, was spectacular. But he has been so very solid so far. He just wants to look to get straight onto the red towards the left-hand side of the table. If he gets straight onto that, he can just drop it in, drift down, and he's got the red to the right corner. So it's all about this positional shot. If he gets straight on that red, then it should be routine for him.
Looks pretty good. It's about as straight as you could possibly wish to be.
Yeah, he's going to be thrilled with that.
We thought he might drift down a little bit further than that, but I think that just shows how confident he is that this red passes the yellow pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I think the red passes comfortably. I think this probably shows that. I think maybe the black goes to the corner pocket as well, because I was thinking he had to get a little bit straighter to play on the black into the centre, but with this much angle, he's going to be playing on the black into the corner.
Play that nicely. The pot, absolutely no doubt about that. And And you see the slightly reverse angle. Black passes the yellow perfectly. Beautifully done. 3-0 to Andy Blurton. He's looking in great shape now to advance through to the final here tonight in Solihull. As you've mentioned a couple of times, one of the best amateurs on the circuit for a long time, and he's been in pretty good nick. Semi-final of the British Open, semi-final of the Welsh Professional, semi-final of the Seniors World Championships, and only knocked out the Welsh by Mark Farnsworth as well. He's had a good year.
Oh, he's had a brilliant first season as a professional. The professional rankings work on a 2-year ranking list. And he's as a first-year professional last year, he's only going to have 1 year's ranking, which is why he's outside the top 16. But for my money, he's a top 16 player all day long, and his results over the past 12 months show that. A number of quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals. He was so close to getting to the final in Cardiff at the first tour.
Yellow goes down, red goes down, and Luke Sanjeev here might have a decent opportunity for the first time really off a break. Might be able to see, well, quite clearly an opportunity to break and dish. Yeah,
really, really important moments for Luke. If he's going to have a chance in a race to 6, you don't really want to be going 4-0 down. 3-1, it's manageable. You don't want to be there, but 4-0 is, you're really struggling. But this is a nice open chance for him. He's only got one ball that he needs to worry about, and that's the red on the side rail. He can play on it. He could choose to move it. He may even play on it as a double. He has options with that. It's not unsolvable. And of course, all the other reds are fairly open.
Yeah, he's played that one quite nicely as well. Good chance here for Luke Sanjeev, and I think you're right, Simon. I think he'll be thinking when that came up for him, this is my chance to get back into the game. This is what I've been waiting for 3 frames.
Yeah, this is much more the style that Luke wants to play. He wants to get the balls nice and open. I mean, not that Andy doesn't as well, but he wants to get them nice and open and back his ability to clear up. And if he's going to get back in this match, this is how he's going to do it. The reason, the only thing that's really making that red on the right-hand side awkward is the fact that in normal circumstances you're not going to want to move it because it can go wrong when you start moving balls, and you'd back yourself to make that down the rail. But he wants to get the white roughly where the yellow is, near the centre pocket, so that yellow can become a bit of a blocker when he tries to get onto it. That's the only thing that makes that slightly awkward. He does have a nice angle to get onto it now.
He's played that really well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic shot. You can see what I mean. If that white bounces another inch or two, he's really hampered queuing over that yellow, and that's really what can make that, could have made it awkward, but he's controlled the position onto it brilliantly.
Actually, when it's as straight as that, those shots down the rail aren't too difficult. And this is exactly the frame that Luke Sanjeev hoped he would get when he broke. Black fairly routine. It's 3-1, and that was a must-win frame for Luke, and he'll be delighted to get one on the board.
Yeah, that was much more like it from Luke. Nice break, nice big open split, and rolled them in for a breaking dish. Very, very good, and even more impressive when you're 3-0 down.
See Neil Rayburn in the back of the shot with Andy Blurton, scouting out the opposition.
Yeah, no, Andy and Neil are very, very good friends. Travel to all the events together, and he's here supporting Andy, and I fully expect Andy to be supporting Neil when we get to Neil's week. They actually played each other this weekend in Scotland, which is it's always difficult for them. Neil came out on top on this occasion, but they did draw each other.
I'm sure he let him know about that a few times on the drive down today.
Yeah, it might be mentioned once or twice.
Looking forward to seeing Neil in action in this competition. Lovely player to watch. We are starting to get through them now. Week number 6. 16 weeks of round 1 of this Champions Cup. And you mentioned this earlier, Simon. I thought it was pretty interesting. You mentioned Andy's break not quite coming off for him, and I think this is the final culmination of that, really. He's come up dry.
Yeah, I'm really surprised, because Andy just has such a big break that he's the first 2 breaks he's not hit well at all. They've not been big breaks in the slightest, and so much so he's gone to the cup break, which when you've got a break as big as Andy, it baffles me. But he's obviously come up dry again, so it hasn't worked because he's tried something and it's not worked, but he has got a reasonable split.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Luke will be licking his lips at this one. He's got a little bit of stuff to figure out, but the balls are all apart from each other, which I think's the main thing.
Yeah. I was about to say that the hardest part he's got on is the first shot, because it didn't look like he had a particularly open first shot. If he could have found a way of making a yellow, those yellows were very inviting, but I'm not sure he could. Well, he obviously couldn't, but I don't know exactly what he tried, whether he could see the potting angle or he was trying to something a bit more creative. So having missed that pot, it's sort of given Andy the opportunity to clear up these yellows.
I think Andy just used the extension there, just taking his time to survey the scene.
Yeah, it's one of those shots. Colours aren't assigned yet, and he knows the shot is to take the yellow next to right on the rail. If he makes this first shot, then they're all there for him. But he also knows if he misses this, then he's gifting the frame away. So probably took the extension more to compose himself than to actually think about what he wants to do.
And he ended up playing the shot very, very nicely indeed. And when they did look inviting for Luke with a difficult first shot, similar scenario for Andy, a slightly easier shot I'd probably wager, but good position now to see out the rest of these yellows. Black is as inviting as it possibly could be.
I think he's just gone far enough. He's playing on the one that's nearest the top centre pocket as we look on the screen. I think he's just far enough that he can drop this in. Yeah, he's playing it quickly, which suggests it is. And he's in absolute perfect position now. That was a really good choice of shot from Andy, because that was going to be the most awkward ball to get on. If you get on it, it's a really simple ball, but he had to get there. So to go straight after it, a really good shot choice and played really well.
It's always an interesting one when the colours are so closely situated next to each other. We mention all the time, Sam, that each player sees it differently, and when they are all so close, there's absolutely no right or wrong way to go about it.
No, not at all. It's everyone sees the game differently and sees their patterns differently. I think the important thing is that you have your own. You have a very clear idea of what you want to do, and as long as you've got a clear idea of what you're trying to do and how you're going to do it, then that's the key.
Andy Blurton here then with an excellent chance to head into a 4-1 lead. It'd take him 2 frames away.
Didn't seem to cue that one in quite as confidently as he has a couple. I don't know if he's come up short. No, he's absolutely perfect.
Can't see him wasting this opportunity. Just if he can figure his breakout, I think he's in a wonderful position to cruise through the rest of the match, given how far ahead he is at this point. Andy Blurton moves into a 4-1 lead, and Luke Sanchez is massively up against it here.
Yeah, I think it's just a case that Luke's had a couple of chances that he's not taken. A couple of them have been, he's tried to chase a couple of finishes that have been very, very tough, and he's missed a couple of balls as well. So that's the sort of big difference in the match. Andy's played a very solid, missed nothing, and Luke's missed a couple.
Yeah, you can see there from the stats, Luke has been very much in plenty of these frames, but he trails by 4 frames to 1. We'll see if we can make a comeback after the break.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Welcome back to Solihull, Week 6 of the IPA Freesports Champions Cup. Luke Sanjee's taking on Andy Blurton in our first semi-final tonight. Reminder of the format, we'll see 2 matches, 2 semi-finals. The winner of each will move into tonight's final, and they will advance through to the next round of the competition. The UK Tour around England, Scotland and Wales is taking us so far to Washington in the northeast, to Cardiff in Wales and to Sheffield. We're in Solihull tonight and indeed next week and the week after, as the Champions Cup seeks to find the best player in the country. So far in this one, Luke Sanjee's finds himself 3 frames behind to Andy Blurton, who's played very, very nicely. But a few very, very tactical, sticky frames, and Simon Webb, I reckon we might have ourselves another one.
Yeah, I think this has all been led from the break. Neither player has figured out the break at all. Yes, Luke's making balls off the break. He made a ball off each of his breaks. But we've had more frames like this than we have open. I think there's only been one dish from the break so far, and that was a nice big break from Luke. I think neither player has quite figured out how to break on this table just yet.
And it is different, isn't it, when you play on this table? It's much, much quicker.
Yeah, it is. I think the tables we play on the tour are exactly the same. They should play. There shouldn't be any differences. But table to table, there's finding the breakings. Where to break from, the pace to break from, and everything. Sometimes you just figure it out. Sometimes you break and everything's brilliant, and sometimes you break and you get splits like this. So it's just not happening for either of them tonight.
Because whilst it isn't the most nuanced shot in pool, it's not quite as simple as hit it as hard as you can and see what happens.
I don't think so. No, for me, there's a lot of skill in the break. Yes, there's a lot of luck because you can hit them brilliantly every time, and you might come up dry, and that is down to luck. But all you can do is hit them well, get a nice big split, get the balls travelling around, and hope for the best. But there's definitely a skill in that.
Oh, I think Luke's been really unlucky there.
He has. He's hit that shot quite nicely. He's hit it. If he just doesn't catch the black, see, he caught the black absolutely full. If he catches the black sort of 3/4 ball, maybe half ball, then the white will move away from the black, and there'll be a good chance he gets left with a shot on.
Yeah, not quite touching ball, as you can see there. And I think you just saw a little swing of the arm there from Luke. I don't think he liked where that's finished.
Yeah, he was trying to get the white almost behind the red. So he wanted to get into that just a fraction more. But when you're that close to the ball, it's so hard to judge. And he's left Andy a chance on this red. The only thing that's good for him was he did cover the other red. The ball he was playing covered the other red to the right corner pocket. Sorry, which is why Andy's decided to just to take the pocket and not take the pot on.
Yeah, that wasn't a missed pot by Andy there. That was a tactical decision. And those of you maybe new to 8-ball rules, it's not quite as simple as taking the pocket as it might be in your local club, because you can do a shot like that, but it hasn't quite come off for Luke. He needed to pop that yellow to make that skills shot. That was almost time to perfection by Luke to accompany a bit of commentary, but he did need to pop the yellow and he hasn't done it.
Yeah, that from when you get behind those sort of skill shots, you feel very comfortable playing them. But when you've got that much angle on the shot, you need to be so precise to make the skill shot. That was as hard a skill shot as you could imagine. Luke's obviously an aggressive, decided that I'm going to take the aggressive option and try and get back into this match, and he's taken it on. But that was very, very difficult.
Yeah, the difficulty lies so often in getting the spin on the object ball spot on, because you've got to try and carry that into the pocket as well, getting the momentum into that ball to not only pop the one you over the pocket, but to pop the object ball as well is very, very tough, and it's so much easier to do when you're directly behind it. It's still a difficult shot, but it's easier. That was about as hard as it gets. Yeah,
you also need to get a really, really precise contact. So if you can hit your ball onto your opponent's ball and get the really kind of full contact on it, the one will follow the other. If you catch any sort of just off angle, it will just throw it away from the pocket, and that's what happened there. He caught the ball over the pocket, about half ball, and his ball's going to just throw away and it's got no chance. So when you've got that much angle on your pot, it's harder to be as accurate.
Yeah, it's the ultimate test in accuracy almost, isn't it? Because these players are used to firing into pockets, which, whilst they're not wide open and massive, they're far bigger than the width of a ball, which is what they've got to aim for when playing a skill shot. And Andy here got an excellent chance to move 5-1 after he used his shot on a visit quite effectively to just pot Luke's ball over the pocket, clear that one up. He's still got a bit of work to do though.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the red goes into the right centre without moving it. If it does, then he's okay. If it doesn't, he needs to cannon into it. I wonder if he can do it now. He tried. See, what he's tried to do there is cannon the red and yellow together using this, coming off the side cushion and into it, and just hitting his red has just made things awkward for him. From this overhead camera, though, it looks like it still just about drops in. Yeah, just thinking about Luke's shot choice to go for that skill shot. He was left in a position where he didn't really have great safety options on. He could only really see one ball, so he's decided to take the aggressive option. I'm not going to criticise that shot choice. It's just to sort of emphasise how difficult the shot he took on was.
Shot clock ticking for Andy Blurton. He's played that really nicely in the end.
So that did go. Just the way he played the previous shot, I thought it probably didn't, but on the camera it looked like it did, and he's played that well. He's just having a look at the black. He knows the reds are wide open. He's just checking the black. Looks like he'd rather it went into the bottom right-hand corner pocket rather than it definitely goes to the bottom left. And he's just looking to. It's easier for him to get onto it into the bottom right. I think it goes. He may choose to come round. He may not play for it into the bottom right now because he's got an awful lot of angle on this pot into the middle. He wanted to be straight on it.
Yeah, just comes around to play it into the right centre. And again, Andy has played a really nice shot. It's not the first time. It may be one of the last times though, because if he pots this, he's one frame away. And he has. Beautifully done from Andy Blurton. 5-1 lead now, and Luke Sanjis is, he's almost requiring snookers. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, Andy's been very, very solid in this match. Sometimes you watch players play and they can make dish after dish after dish, and you can rave about how well they've played. But this has been just an exhibition in match play. He really hasn't put a foot wrong really in this match yet.
And here we take a look at the Champions Cup results so far at the top of the board. Yeah, there you see our first week. Mark Farnsworth overcoming Jordan Cunningham and then Mickey Oliver, who beat Steve Thompson. Nicky Griffiths was defeated by Curtis Lee, who was then defeated by Christian Phillips in our second week in Cardiff. There you see the bottom half of the draws. One Simon Webb taking on Zach Wilkinson. It's not too far away now,
yeah,
Simon.
3-4 weeks away now. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be lovely to see you out there competing rather than in the commentary box. It'll be very lonely, but
take it easy on me.
Oh, I don't know if I can do that. He's got a very, very serious air about him, doesn't he, Andy Blurton, when he's at the table? Very, very intense.
He has. But he's very relaxed. He's very focused. Very rarely you see any emotion from him. You couldn't tell whether if he was 5-1 down, he would look exactly the same, and that is a really good skill to have.
Yeah, I think we've already seen the Champions Cup. That's much more like an Andy Blurton break, isn't it?
Yeah, that's much, much more like it. Still not quite as powerful as he can hit it, but that was much, much more like it. And interesting that he's gone back to the front ball break. And I think if I had Andy Blurton's break, I would always just stay there because it's normally so powerful.
And in that sense, he's incredibly lucky. There's a bit of a smile from him. I think he's just a little word with Neil Rayburn there. Something along the lines that I wouldn't surprise me if that's the best break I've hit and I've come up dry.
Yeah. It's not happened. He's had 4 breaks, 3 of them dry, and this is by far and away his best split. Look how every ball's moved and every ball. Look how open the table is. So he'll be very annoyed to be dry, but doesn't seem so bad when you're 5-1 down. Not 5-1 up, sorry.
Yeah, but when you're 5-1 down, this is the opportunity you really, really want to get yourself somewhat of a footing in this game. Luke needs to win the next 5 frames on the spin. Very, very difficult thing to do, of course. But, well, you can get one on the board and it becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, all you can do is win the next frame. And I think that's the way you've got to think. Just win the next frame. You keep winning the next frame, you never know what can happen. If you start thinking about having to win 5 on the trot, then you won't get anywhere. The problem Luke's got is the red at the bottom end of the table. That yellow is blocking it, and I think if he gets right down to the bottom cushion, it will go. But he needs to be very, very accurate here. Yeah, and that's a very, very good shot.
Yeah, he's played that really well. That's the thing with Luke's game, actually. He's really not made too many glaring errors. I think where he's often been caught out is he's been forced into a really aggressive, very difficult option, and that's what's opened the door for Andy, really.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He's chosen to, or been forced into going for very, very tough finishes, and just not quite been able to make them.
This one shouldn't be as tough a finish as some of the ones that he's not quite got.
Yeah, we saw he made a break dish a couple of frames ago. Once the balls are nice and open, he looks to be playing very well and cueing very well, and it looks like he's going to clear them up. It's just it's when there's been work to be done, he hasn't been able to figure it out or get it done.
And this is maybe a little bit more difficult than he would have liked. Don't think he wanted to cannon the red there on his way through.
No, canning that red's just made things really tricky for him. If he avoids the red, then this is really simple. Now he's got a lot of angle on this red, and he's very, very close to it, but the problem is, even if he makes the pot, the white's going to be travelling. He needs to get good position as well.
How is he? Oh, it's going to be close. Because the issue, of course, that he's got is that red obviously doesn't go into the middle, and as you can see there, he can't see the potting angle down to the bottom of the table. Those are the margins.
Yeah, we called it. We said that pot. We made the pot. Yes, it was still on, but making the white have to travel that far just makes it so much harder to get good position on your last ball. And he's really in trouble here. Oh wow! Oh, that's unbelievable. That is so good.
What a recovery!
That's just incredible
from Luke Sanchez. Oh, and has he missed the black? I don't believe it. Well, he's just made one of the shots of the tournament so far, and then that's potentially in line for one of the misses of the tournament.
That's a really, I can't believe that. He's complaining that it rolled off, but I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, he's instantly threw his arms up, knowing he'd missed it.
Well, that could well be the last shot that Luke plays in the competition. And he still has a little bit of work to do here. It's not the easiest clearance. That couple of yellows which will provide an issue, this being one of them, and he looks to be pretty perfect on it.
Yeah, that for me was the only thing that could go wrong for Andy in this clearance, was not getting good position on this bottom one, but he's gone straight after it. He's finished perfect, and it's a tough pot along the rail, but I fully expect him to get it, and if he does, then the rest are routine.
And he's just going to be assured here. It is a relatively straightforward finish.
Well, he's just, having said that, he's just come up a good half a foot short. He wanted to be straight onto either the one to the top left corner or into the yellow into the centre. He's almost forced into taking the one, I was going to say he might be forced into taking the one down the rail, which is very, very missable.
played that nicely. Doesn't look like missing a ball at the minute.
No, that's a nice recovery. That could have gone wrong. He finished short enough that there would have been a little bit of hope there for Luke, but a great recovery pot, and this shouldn't be a problem now.
It's a lovely bit of cue execution there. The stun shot. Have to dig into it a little bit. And this now is fairly routine. Just has to be a little bit careful with the black over the pocket, so it makes for slightly awkward cueing. We wouldn't expect him to miss that, and he doesn't. So Andy Blurton is one shot away from tonight's final. And that is that. Andy Blurton wins our first semi-final. Disappointment for Luke Sanjis. He knew he was up against it heading into that final frame, but he'll be so disappointed at the way it's ended.
Yeah, he's going to be very, very annoyed. It just didn't happen for him tonight. Andy's played fantastic. Just a brilliant display of match play, Paul.
That was the moment, wasn't it? And he knew. As soon as he played it, he knew.
Actually, watching that again, it looks like he's got a kind of skiddy kick on it. Like if we can see that again, you can see the black almost skids. The stripe on the black skids for the first 3-4 inches. So maybe just a bit unfortunate there.
Well, we see the final match stats. Andy Blurton makes his way through to tonight's final. 6 frames to 1, the total at the bottom, and that's the most key stat there, but some interesting ones as well. Missed pots for Luke will be one he'll be a bit disappointed with, but plenty of balls potted, which doesn't indicate a 6-1 victory, but Luke had his chances, but Andy comes out on top. We'll be hearing from him after the break.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
And live back in Solihull with the winner of the semi-final, Andy. First of all, how do you feel to move into tonight's final?
Yeah, it's great to get through. I thought I played quite solid there. I just struggled with the break. But once I got my hand on the table, I thought I took my chances quite well.
Well, you actually mentioned it quite a bit in commentary, that the break being such a strong part of your arsenal. Is it almost reassuring that you've had such a positive result in the semi, despite it not really coming off for you?
The break is a massive part of the game, and that is one of my strong points. But I struggled with that tonight, so it was nice to get a win. Luke will admit that he can play a lot better than that. I think if Luke was on top form, it would have been a lot closer match. But I need to sort my break out for the next match, yeah.
And in terms of our second semi-final, what's your thoughts on it?
Well, I don't know Lee. I know quite a bit about the other guy. The other guy's a really strong player, so I expect him to go through. But I think Lee's brought quite a few fans with him tonight, because I think this is where he plays. So it should be a good atmosphere for this one.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about. Plenty of people here supporting. It must be a pretty nice atmosphere for you to play in.
Yeah, it's great. There must be 50, 60 people here tonight, all cheering the guys on. So yeah, it's great to have some fans in here.
Well, we look forward to seeing you in the final. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Steve. Cheers.
And this is how he got there. Well, there was Andy Blurton making his way through to tonight's final. He'll play the winner of this one, Phil Parking versus Lee Warren. Andy admitted to not knowing too much about Lee. He's our local qualifier here tonight, and he'll be pretty excited to be here, because I think he's brought a fair bit of support with him. This is his local club here at Solihull, and Phil might be stepping into the unknown a touch here. So.
Yeah, to be fair though, Phil's fairly local. I think Phil's only Coventry, which is 20 minutes or so away. So I think he's got a fair bit of support here with him as well.
Second semi-final of the evening.
I haven't seen much of Lee play. He's played I think he's played a few tour events, been on the amateur tour. This is Phil's a first-year professional. I've seen a little bit more of him, not a huge amount still, but from what I have seen, I've been very, very impressed. He made 2 amateur finals last year on the IPA tour. Took 2 great performances to beat him, and he's sort of definitely one to watch over the next year or two. See how he progresses in the pro scene.
It looks like Lee has won the lag, which we'll be pretty excited about. Gets a chance to break first, get a chance to expunge any potential nerves and put them all out in the break.
Yeah, I tend to find. I mean, if you do get nervous for matches, I think once you've hit that first shot, I feel like certainly for me, that's you sort of settle down once you get your first shot out of the way, and definitely once you've got your first frame on the board. But I definitely think there are pre-match nerves, but once you get going, you can get quite comfortable.
referee here, just readjusting the balls for the first break, making sure they're all touching precisely.
First frame, still parking the break.
It's interesting to hear Andy from our previous semi-final alluding to the issues that he had from the break, and he mentioned off camera just before his first break, that just before he came on air rather, that he was amazed at the scoreline, considering he didn't really feel that he either broke well or got a ball down.
Yeah, the breaks went against him, yet he still had the scoreline, so it sort of puts pay to the people that there's a lot that would say that the game is very much down to the break. The break is by far, is a massive part of the game, but the results aren't determined by the breaks. The break gives you the opportunities.
And speaking of the break, Phil's got a really good one away there. This is he who won the lag rather than Lee.
Red's in play.
Obviously my eyes aren't quite as good as the umpires, that's why I'm here and he's there. But good opportunity here for Phil. He's got a good split.
Yeah,
he's only got the one, I'd say, issue, which is the red and the yellow together at the top of the table.
Yeah, and he can go straight after it now. He's got the red over the centre pocket with the right angle to be able to stun up into it. The only problem with the shot he's going to play is being left on a red afterwards, because he may not, if he catches that yellow full, there's every chance that he could not be on any of the reds at the bottom end of the table, and unless he's on the red at the top, I guess that's why he's playing a double instead. Oh, that's brilliant.
Well, what a way to start proceedings there from Phil Parkin. Tremendous shot that. Well, that's a pretty good test of how confident a player's feeling if that's the third shot they play of the match. Really, really good from Phil, that.
Yeah, very impressive. Just as I was talking through how difficult the potential problems of cannoning a ball out, he's decided that he's not going to do that. He's just going to play the double, and played it very, very well. That next shot, though, has gone wrong. He's not on the ball he wants to be. He's still got a pot on, but it's much tougher than he wanted it to be.
He's played it really well. A good recovery shot, that.
I know he's only 4 shots into this this match, but he looks like he's in very, very confident mood here. Just the way he's sort of going about it around the table, the shots he's playing, he looks very, very confident.
Yeah, he's almost. It's almost as if he's deliberately not taking the easy option, if that makes sense. He's almost marking his territory, you feel, here in this first frame. Phil, as the pre-match favourite, he's gone about his business in a very entertaining and very high skill tariff as well. That is the first frame, breaking a dish for Phil Parkin with no shortage of style as well.
Yeah, very, very impressive start to this match from Phil. That was very, very good. The double was a great shot, and when he ran out of position, he just pulled out a pot like it was over the pocket. Very, very good.
And here is Phil's most recent tournament history. As Simon said, first year pro, so he's still battling away in the amateur competitions last year. Got to the final of the British Amateur in October, lost out to Michael Rhodes, and not the greatest event at the Welsh Professional, or indeed the Welsh Open.
Yeah, but that's his first tournament as a professional, and I know how difficult it is to, when you first turn pro, it's tough to adjust. And he went slightly better this weekend in Scotland. He won a few matches, and sort of speaking to him earlier, seems like he's just settled down into the sort of pro game a little bit more with the weekend that's just gone. But it's a tough thing to adjust to.
Lee with his first break of the match, his first shot of the match, and he'll be really disappointed to come up dry on the break. Didn't get the greatest split. You can see there the black didn't really move a lot, and a few balls surrounding it as well. But having said that, he's not got the greatest split. It's still inviting enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's got an opening shot on. That's his biggest problem. I'm not sure he can see the yellow at the top to pot it. If he can, then this is you can just see this overhead, it looks like he can't pot it. If you can see that, then he obviously can, because he's playing it. He had to play that with some side to make the angle. That's a very, very good shot, much better shot than it looked.
Yeah, he's had to really play that into quarter pocket, essentially. Really, really tough shot. Played it lovely.
Yeah, just bent the white round the red and has thrown it in with some side. Very, very good shot. And now the yellows are a chance. The little cluster around the black needs to be worked out, but the yellow, if you look at the cluster around the black, the bottom yellow of the two goes to the bottom left. The top one may go into the right centre, but if you can get on the one to the bottom left, then he can just nudge everything open just slightly, and he does have some control over the bottom right hand pocket as well, so everything's sort of in his advantage in this frame at the moment.
Yeah, he's just using his extension now, which is quite a common tactic that we've seen so far in the Champions Cup, where at the start of the frame players will use the extension, figure out their route, and then after that is when they can have their chance to be a bit more free flowing.
Yeah, I think he may have wanted a fraction more on that last shot, just to come in a little bit straighter on this yellow. I think he's straight enough that he can hold. Like he wants to leave an angle on the yellow over the middle pocket to be able to run down the table, so he doesn't want to overhit this next shot. So much so he's had to play twice across.
He's cued that really nicely. I think that's been the most impressive thing so far from Phil. Looks like he's been at this table for an hour before the start of the match.
Yeah, it does. He's a very impressive start, but he's come up short with that positional shot. He needed another sort of foot on that coming across the table, and you can see from this camera angle that the white's he can't get the white down the table, so all he can do is really drop this in, which means he has to play the one over the pocket. So it's the position he gets off this next shot that's going to determine whether he's got a chance to win the frame.
Yeah, he could potentially look at playing up the table here. Centre yellow, as we look at it, will go into the middle, or indeed the top.
That's a fantastic shot.
Or he could just completely ignore that and play on the bottom yellow.
Yeah,
to the bottom.
Where he is now is where he wanted to get to before playing the one over the pocket. He wanted to get there off the centre, but he's absolutely perfect. Oh, he didn't quite. What he wanted to do was nudge that black open so that the black went on and nudged the yellow up, so it either went to the centre pocket or the corner, and it's just not happened from there. So
it might still be okay, just in terms of being able to pot it, but of course the black now is far less free.
Yeah, the black doesn't go. If the black was still on, he wouldn't be too bad, because the yellow, I think you're right, I think it does go, but he needs to not just pot this yellow, he needs to get into the black as well. Which is,
I mean, I know we've said he's playing very, very well, but this would be an absolutely stunning shot.
Yeah, this would be special.
And the shot clock is ticking.
Okay, that black definitely doesn't go. So I wonder what was he looking at, just getting on it so he could play a double. Yeah, he's looking at the bottom right here.
Oh, he's so unlucky. And you can hear the crowd just get up behind Lee. This is a good chance for him to come back here, but here's the shot again. Oh, he's very unlucky. He's close. I don't think actually the red going in affected him, because it would have been fine if the black had gone in. The black was just slightly wide of the target.
Yeah, that was such a good effort. It's good thinking as well. He's really, he hasn't tried to do anything crazy. He's just giving himself his shot at the black. Really like the way he's, he tried to work that one out, and he was so close to making it. It was a really, really good effort. But the foul has really handed this frame to Lee.
Yeah, this is exactly how Lee would have wanted his first visit to the table to go. Seven reds to clear up. No yellows in the way, black in the open, no real problems.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, well, he's got to jump out, would you believe it? Having just said that.
Yeah, he just finished the wrong side of that red. He just wanted to be the other side so he could run down the table, so he was, even if he makes that pot, he's going to be leaving the white awkward for his next shot. I think it's just didn't get the position he needed, making it awkward, and probably took his attention off the pot.
Oh, no messing about from Phil. Only one shot to play, and he's not quite got it. That was tough. Here's the red, and you can see he missed it near jaw actually. Didn't get a jump out as I first suspected. actually missed it thick. But Phil then took the black on. It was a mightily tough shot. But has he got away with this?
Yeah, he's had a real touch of fortune as Phil. Oh, but then so's Lee. He's left a snooker.
Well, this frame has really out of nowhere become very, very entertaining.
Yeah, not only has he covered the one cushion covered the black, he's covered the obvious one cushion escape. So in normal circumstances here, you'd go off the top cushion and pot the black, and he would be a big favourite to pot the black. But I think he's covered the natural angle. He has to play this with sight. I don't think he plays playing ball. Yeah, he didn't. I think the red was in the way of the natural angle, and that's why he's missed it.
Yeah, you can see he's played it as close as he dared to the red, and he's about 2 inches, I reckon, off just clipping that black in. Didn't even need to hit it anywhere close to full ball, and that means Lee has a chance to develop one of his reds. And now, the second time of asking, Lee Warren has an excellent chance to win the frame.
He does, yeah. But the fact that he missed his first really good opportunity to win this frame is, will that have an effect on him? He's just got to hold himself together here. These are really as sort of routine as you could want them.
As I mentioned, he's got a lot of supporters with him in the crowd. Lee Warren, local qualifier. And the volume will ratchet up if he can get his first frame on the board, and not just get his first frame on the board, but tie it up. And he's not left himself easy on this.
Yeah, just there's some nerves out there from Lee at this stage.
Can he pot his way out of trouble? He can.
Brilliant shot.
Listen to the reaction. Blacker's routine. Well, I think we've got a slightly partisan crowd here, Simon.
Yeah, no, it's really good to see. You could definitely see some nerves there from Lee. He's just not quite got the white under control, making shots harder than they needed to be, but brilliant pot there under pressure to win that frame.
Yeah, played that really, really nicely.
With the 2 chances that Lee had in that frame, had he not won it, the pressure would have just continued to build on him. So now he's won it, he can settle down into this match. There
we see Lee's recent tournament history, IPA World Championships. The non-seeds went out to Chapton and New Love in round 2, and that's what we mean. We don't really see Lee an awful lot around the tour. He is very much an unknown quantity in that respect.
Yeah, I think he has played on the tour. Certainly not last year, which is why we haven't got recent history for him. But I think he's definitely played some tour events. I think he might have been on the tour full time as an amateur a couple of 3 years ago. But yeah, we don't really know how he's playing because we've not seen him. He's obviously done very well to win the qualifying tournament, held it in this club.
Yeah, because speaking of unknown quantities, this is a really attractive competition. Players who play here every single day. It's a very, very high standard, and it's a very, very difficult place to come and be the one single player who makes it through to the Champions Cup.
Yeah, it certainly is. It depends.
Phil did not like that even in the slightest, and I don't think it's particularly difficult to see why. Did not get into that at all.
Yeah, his first break was really, really impressive and a nice big split, and this one he's really just not caught well at all. They've just come out very, very dead for him. That was a nice first shot from Lee, gone straight after the pack.
That was almost like a snooker shot on the blue, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly that, yeah. He's not been rewarded with a particularly favourable split though. He's not really on another ball. He's on yellows. The yellows, they're not too bad if he can get into them, but I don't think he's got a good pot on.
Plays the double. He's made it. Good shot. But is he on the next one? I think the only next one. I wonder if these 2 yellows together, as you can see now in the middle of the table, I wonder if they plant through to the middle.
I think that red looks like it's in the way. I don't know whether he can see the one nearest the middle pocket. If he can just see that, he's perfect. And he can't, but he's... Oh,
Well, I tell you what.
That's unlucky. Every now and then on these tables you see that. This should have gone in.
I mean, that we sometimes use the phrase in pool, wiping its feet. That's wiped its feet, entered through the door, made a cup of tea in the kitchen, and then made its way back out.
Exactly. That's just one of those. These tables every now and then, and more so with the middle pockets, they will just spit them out when it really shouldn't, and that's just very, very unlucky for Lee.
Because it was such a difficult start to the frame. To play back-to-back doubles is never... I mean, obviously it's a shot that players have to be very versatile and very good at nowadays, but it's not a choice that many would make, put it that way. Especially as an opening to the frame, having had to really work hard at it.
Yeah, I mean, it was such a congested pack that he's made his first ball and gone into them, and he's been left nothing but a double, and then after that he's still been left nothing but a double, so he's sort of almost chasing the frame, and he's made, he did make that double, it sort of spat it out, so he's very unfortunate, but Phil's missed to give him an opportunity to get back in the frame.
Yeah, really open this. It's tough to pick a winner of this frame at this juncture.
Yeah, it's pretty good control from Phil. He knows he's not leaving Lee much on. The only ball Lee can pot is the yellow to the top right, and that's very tough, but he can't really get on anything from that. And the problem Lee's got now is that the reds are now very, very nicely positioned, so this next shot from Lee is really important. He needs to be very, very careful. I wonder if he can see the one... He can see the yellow nearest the right centre pocket. I don't think he can see enough of it to pot it to the top corner, and I don't know whether it cuts to the left middle. But it's difficult to see where he can hide the white if he needs to play safe.
You can see his cue dangling precariously over that red. It was awkward cueing. He's chosen to hide the white there.
Yeah, he was trying to get the white right behind the red that's nearest the top middle pocket as we look, to limit Phil's opportunity, but he hasn't been able to get it there, and Phil's got a chance to go for these.
Well, we saw Phil in the first frame, Simon. He was on absolute fire. Couldn't miss a ball. Looked incredibly comfortable, and he just seemed to have lost his way in this frame. I think he had an awful break, obviously, but he's just not looked quite comfortable since that.
Yeah, I think that last frame has just thrown him a little bit, and he didn't. It shouldn't do, because he's missed. What he missed was a very, very tough pot. But he doesn't quite look the same player he looked in the first frame, although he is in complete control of this frame, which is that previous pot he just missed. He sort of took on knowing that he wasn't leaving Lee anything, and he's still in complete control of the frame. So it was one of those that it was almost a free shot that he took on. I'm more surprised with that miss than the previous one.
Yeah, absolutely, and admittedly, as you mentioned, quite rightly, Simon, Phil's still in total control of this frame in terms of where the balls are situated on the table, but Lee has got an option to attack if he wants to.
Yeah, I think if he can get the white, I was thinking if he could roll through and get the white higher, he might be able to cut the yellow to the right centre pocket, and then just get the white coming down into this bottom right corner of the table and open up those reds somehow. At the moment, those two reds over the pocket are causing all the problems, and they're far enough away from the pocket that the skill shot's not really an option. Okay, I see here so the yellow off the rail it doesn't look on this camera that it will sneak past the first red, but he can. That's very, very good, very, very good. Great vision to see that. When he came to the table, he's already identified that as the way he's going to go, and he's opened everything up with that. That's brilliant.
That's a really, really good shot. Yeah, terrific stuff from Lee. And at this point, he's still got to make the last two shots, but at this point, he'll be hoping to go 2-1 up here.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Not just getting the first red out of the way, getting the second red out of the way, and opening the pocket up for the yellow and the black. Very, very impressed with that. The vision to see it, incredible.
Black's not easy. You can see there it needs a precise cut. He's played that really well. you can see, you can certainly hear his support. That's for certain. It'll give him a lot of confidence the way he started.
Yeah, the frame he won, his first frame he won, he looked a little bit shaky. Didn't quite get control of the white, but that finish was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
high quality, wasn't it?
Yeah, very, very high quality finish, and Lee's definitely settled into this match now.
Yeah, Phil just dropping a touch off the very high standard that he set for himself in the first frame. Looked like any player you'd like to list in the world in that first frame. He was on fire and just got a bit unstuck really since.
Yeah, he missed a couple of pots in that frame where he had control of the table. It looked like his frame to lose. He just needed a pot to get into the finish, and both of them were tough pots. I expected him to get them both, but it almost took them in a way that I'm still in control of the frame if I miss this, and Lee's pulled out a very, very good finish on him. I don't know if that will have surprised Phil or not, but
I'll tell you what, it's a heck of a break.
It's a great break, isn't it?
His first one wasn't the greatest, if I recall correctly, and that is an absolutely huge break. Got into them brilliantly. I think the only thing I'll be slightly annoyed about, he's not got the easiest first shot, but if he can make something.
Yeah, he really wants to get into the reds. I think he's okay. I think he can just see the red to the top right. If he can, then the reds are here are very, very nicely placed for him.
Yeah, that was my fear, but he can play that nicely. That's good to see.
So that he's got an option. So that the hardest red on the table is the red that's on the left-hand side rail, just next to that yellow. He can screw into that red now if he wants to, or he could just leave it there and play on it in a couple of shots' time. And he's going to. That's good. That's showing some confidence as well. Confidence to leave it there and back yourself to make it down the cushion rather than kicking it out, which is good to see as well.
He's playing these shots really nicely. We're seeing it entirely differently warranted. He won these first couple of frames, and mentioned a few times that the level of support he's got in the building here tonight can work two ways. Well, I suppose for a player, either the pressure becomes greater, or you sort of become inspired.
Yeah, absolutely. He could feed off that crowd, but also it can, if it gets on the wrong side of it, it can start to sort of play on him a little bit. That's very, very good.
He's playing nicely, isn't he? This will be a superb break and dish from Lee Warren if he can nail this black. Out of the pocket, 3-1. Lee Warren, the local qualifier, is threatening to break away from Phil Parkin here, who will not want to go 4-1 down.
Very, very impressed with that. The finish in the previous frame is sort of really got Lee playing well, and that was a very, very nice break and a nice finish as well. The thing I like to see there is the fact that he had an option to cannon out that ball down the rail, but he's backed himself that if I cannon it out, things can go wrong, and that's often the way. If you've got balls that don't need to be cannoned out, then don't, and back yourself to pot them down the rail. And he did that, and he made that look like that pot down the rail made it look like it was hanging over the pocket. Very impressed so far with Lee.
Yeah, he seems to be enjoying himself. He's trying not to get distracted by the plethora of mates he's got with him here. He's remaining focused. It's quite nice actually, the setup here. It does enable the players, when they're feeling a little bit confident, to have a chat with a couple of members of the crowd, especially if they know them well.
Yeah, they are right on you, very, very close to you.
has come up dry for Phil, so a good chance here. It's a decent enough split, but nothing down. So Lee here with a really decent opportunity, Simon, to head into the break 4-1 up.
Yeah, just looking at the table, seeing what he's got. He's going straight after Red's, not going to give us even a chance to work out what his problems are. He's looks like he's got the red on the rail, but he showed in the previous frame, as long as he gets good position on that, you back him to make it. And all the other reds look like they've got a pocket. The red just above the black, I don't know whether that goes to the corner pocket or not. If it doesn't, then he needs to play a good position to get onto that one. But there's enough reds around it to do that if he needs to. I think this frame is going to come down to the red on the rail.
Yeah, because it's right on the rail as well. Quite often we see it an inch or two maybe off, and it becomes still a very difficult shot, but there is a degree that's a little bit easier, but there's no getting away from that. That has to be precise.
Yeah, it's not so much, for me it's the yellow above it that kind of makes it awkward to get nice position onto the red. The yellow nearest the right centre pocket, if that wasn't there, then it's easier for him to get really nicely behind that red. I still expect him to get on it, but it just can make it trickier.
Got that in nicely. We're going to have to assume that red passes to black.
Yeah, if that red doesn't pass the black, then it becomes a problem ball. It does pass to the other corner pocket, and it does go on the centre, but I was thinking he was going to have to leave it for his last ball, but I think he's going to play it now. So he's not got much margin of error positionally here. This is a very tough shot.
Got to get this spot on. Oh, it just went in, but it looks like he snookered at the same time.
Yeah, that was he was just couldn't quite get control of the white in this visit, and the result is that he's not got on the red down the rail.
Has he potentially just simply played that a bit too hard?
He has, but from the distance he was away from the red, the control to hit that, to get the control to get on that that red was difficult. So yes, he has, but it was probably more about the previous 2-3 shots where he was just marginally running out of position, one shot after another.
Not out of the question. Well, it is now that he could have potted the red down the rail off the cushion, which would have been a real champagne way to pot it. But now Phil back at the table, and he's got a decent chance here. And the way he played in the first frame, if you can repeat that, then this is a gimme. But he's not been anywhere near that level since.
Yeah, he's missed a couple of pots since that first frame. I think this is the opportunity he needs. If he goes to the break 3-2, he'd be quite happy, and he'd be back on the front foot. So, and this is the sort of chance you'd want after making a couple of mistakes in previous frames.
Yeah, no obvious problems. Ball's out in the open. That one threatened to expel itself, but it's all good. Just slightly overrun that, I think.
Yeah, it's just he either wanted to be straight on the one to the corner or have an angle on the one to the middle where he could get onto the one to the corner straight. So he maybe a slight reroute. Definitely not the way he wanted to play that one. We may see another double here.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to how we saw Lee approach his reds at the time in the second frame when he first came to the table, and he had a similar setup to clear. Made a little bit of a hash of it, and Phil's left the door open.
Yeah, it was, he just ran out of position, just enough to force that miss.
He's missed it by about a centimetre. How's the double? It's good. It's brilliant, in fact.
Yeah, I think we might see a double. I was thinking from Phil, but it's Lee that's pulled out a brilliant double, and that's going to win in this frame.
Absolutely nailed it, and there goes the black as well. You can hear The reaction of the crowd. Their man is making a real game of this. And then some. The local qualifier, Lee Warren, leads by 4 frames to 1.
Yeah, you can see there that there's the missed pots from Phil are really starting to rack up. He missed 3, I think he missed 3 in the second frame, or second or third frame, or second and third frame, and missed another one there. So that's been his problem. He's had the chances, but just hasn't taken them.
Yeah, Lee in response had to dig himself in to the first frame that he won to make it 1-1, but since then he's been on fire. Can he see his way through to tonight's final? We'll find out after the break.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Welcome back to Solihull, week 6 of the IPA Freesports Champions Cup. Phil Parkin on the left versus Lee Warren, the local qualifier. The local boy done very, very good so far.
Yeah, not only is he winning 4-1, he's playing some incredibly entertaining pool, and the crowd are right behind him, so I'm thoroughly enjoying this match and just want to see some more of it.
Yeah, more on the way. We might only, of course, see 2 more frames. Can we see a repeat of the 6-1 scoreline that took Andy Blurton to his semi-final win, or will Phil Parkin come into it? He's got a chance to do that now as Lee Warren has come up dry from the break.
A nice big split.
I was just about to say that. He's actually gone into them very, very well, hasn't he?
He has, and these have come out really quite nicely for Phil, and that is dry. The red at the top of the table, if he wants reds, that's going to be the key. How easy is it to get on that red? Does he need to move that yellow out of the way, or move the red to be able to pot it?
Red's in play.
I think he's got an angle here where he can pot the red to the left centre, screw up the table, and almost aim to hit the yellow full in the face. Well, that's just as good. That's fine. That's really nicely played.
And from here on out, not too many issues that you can see for Phil Parkin, but if he plays the way he played in the first frame, he'll sweep these up in next to no time. But he's just struggled since then, and you just get the sense, Simon, that once he gets his next frame out of the way, then he'll be a bit more comfortable. You feel like he's really playing against more than just the table here at the moment.
Yeah, he needs to get a frame and get back on the front foot and get back to being positive. He's missed a couple of chances, and Lee's put him under the pressure to make that happen. It's just awkward again. He's not. In that first frame, he just ran through it. Was good position all the way through, pulled out some good shots. But this time, he's just awkward. Needs to pull out a couple of really good positional shots to get back on track to win this frame.
And again, he's almost, because of that initial poor positional shot there, this next one then isn't easy, and the one after that might not be easy, and he's really having to work very, very hard.
Yeah, there doesn't look to be a really nice and natural finish on here. He doesn't want to. I don't think he wants to leave the red at the bottom of the table till last, because I think getting on the black from that could be tricky. He's been forced into leaving it till last.
Yeah, he's played a really nice double there.
See, if he comes up short on this shot, then getting onto the black is going to be very, very difficult.
And safe to say he has, yeah. Don't think that red passes the yellow to the top left as we look at it on this shot. No, you can see there, it definitely doesn't. So it has to go to a middle pocket. And the natural angle of that will take him down the table away from the black.
Yeah, so he's got to come down to the bottom end of the table and then back up again, avoiding those yellows. This is very tough.
See how much he's actually checked up into that.
That's brilliant.
That's a heck of a shot. And nice to see, actually, despite the fact we mentioned it's a very partisan crowd in favour of Lee Warren. It's a very knowledgeable crowd as well. And they recognise a good shot when they see one. The black then was routine for Phil Parkin. He's back in it, 4-2.
Yeah, it's a bit more like it from Phil. That was impressive. That last shot was very, very good. All the way through that finish, it sort of, to me, it felt like he was just getting trickier and trickier, and come the back end of the finish, it was going to leave a problem that he couldn't solve. But he's pulled out a brilliant shot and closed the gap.
And we saw this earlier on, the other half of the IPA Freesports Champions Cup draw. Ronan McCarthy was particularly impressive in Washington in week number 2. He overcame Stuart Wright 6-0 and beat Lee Ray in that final. And we saw a bit of an upset. Those results you can see in the middle of the screen. Jason Rimington beat Michael Rhodes 6-5. Terrific game that was. Then he went and beat the seed in Sheffield, Jordan Shepherd, in the final. Greg Marsh got through Greg Batten and then Corby Rees in our first week in Cardiff. But there's been some really good pool played, and I think the the most competitive week we saw was last week, and that's quite easy to say when the seed goes out, which Jordan Shepherd did, but Jason Remington versus Michael Rhodes was one heck of a game, and then the final, of course, was very close.
Yeah, it was, and yes, Jordan was the seed, but no surprise to me to see Jason win that. It's a bit like tonight, where you've got Luke and Andy. Luke was the seed, but Andy was, very, very good chance of winning it, and Jason's the same, as it showed.
I think Phil's been a little unlucky here. He's got 2, if not 3 balls down, and he might not have an obvious first shot here. It's a much better break than you managed the last time.
I think his only option is to go reds. I think he can just see enough of the red to pot it into the centre pocket, so reds have to be his option.
Red's in play.
And he's got either the red to the corner. I think he can just about cut this into the centre as well. If he cuts it into the centre, then he's going to be cannoning into the reds at the bottom end of the table. If he takes it to the corner, I think he is going to take it to the corner, and he's got a lot more control on the positional shot. He'd love it if that red that's to the left of the black, if that goes to the bottom right, then this is a brilliant chance, but I don't think it does.
Oh, well.
That looks a wild miss, but he is trying to play it off the yellow.
Time running.
It wasn't the easiest yellow to play in off, because the yellow was tight to the bottom cushion. That was a difficult shot.
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that he tried to play it off the yellow rather than playing it directly in. And that's a brilliant shot from Lee.
Toast on the cold.
Yeah, take a look at that. He's playing some really good stuff. Here's Lee Warren. So
Yeah, there's a good return from Phil as well.
very good counter. Lee recognising that little tap on the table. First chance we've really seen of Lee Warren in a safety predicament. And he's played another good one. Phil does have an option. It's a very aggressive one. It looks like he might be going straight after it. He is. It's a good shot.
Yeah, that is a good shot, but the red in the centre of the table, that's going away from his work. If he can see the red to the bottom, if he's straight on it, then he can't do much off that either. So this is, although as good a pot as that was, he's tough here.
Yeah, look how much he's having to jack up to create something. And then he could only stop it dead, and I think he can play that red into the right middle.
Yeah, that's a very nicely controlled shot, but we saw in a previous frame that a red being sort of spat out from the centre pocket without much pace. This time he's going to have to hit this with a fair amount of pace to get the white away from the yellow. So that when he plays this, the yellow's going to cannon into the other yellow, which will knock the red out. He doesn't want the white to stick and stay where it is. There's going to be some pace in this shot. Okay, no, there isn't. The reason he's done that, which I didn't expect it, but the red does go. The red that's next to the black goes to the bottom right. So he didn't need to cannon that red out. Now the reason he's gone into it there is because he was left with an angle where he couldn't get on that red, even though it did go. So he's had to screw into it and he's missed the pot.
Just not going Phil Parkin's way at the moment. It's not a routine finish for Lee Warren by any stretch of the imagination. And he has put Phil straight into a snooker. There's the return. That's pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, Lee's in control of this frame though.
That's another clever little shot, and this is even more difficult to get out of now.
Yeah, not only has he put Phil in a tough snooker, one that's going to be very, very difficult to get out of, he's developed two yellows at the same time as doing it. So Phil is really up against it in this frame. got to get a lot of side on this. He has. Great hit. But disaster. Nudged the yellow over the only yellow that was semi-awkward for Lee has been nudged over the centre pocket, so that's a bit of a disaster, even though Phil's played a great shot.
And the black's come out, that was tied up with that yellow. He's very, very unlucky there, Phil. He's played a great shot to hit the red, but he couldn't have actually set this up better for Lee in the process. But that's what you get, you know, if you put a good snooker on a play, you almost deserve that little bit of luck in return, don't you?
Yeah, regardless of you know, he's had a bit of luck to, you know, or Phil's been unlucky to nudge the balls on, but Lee would have still had a very good chance for the finish there, even if that hadn't happened. It just makes it, you know, not unmissable, but just makes his work so much easier.
Warren. There's one away. Hasn't he played well? He's punished Phil there for a couple of small but ultimately consequential mistakes.
Yeah, it would look. Phil's tried to chase a finish that wasn't quite there, and yeah.
Reminder of what we've got coming up next week. We're back here, same time, same place in Solihull. Alex O'Donoghue takes on Andrew Mackey, and Jack Whelan takes on Matt Ward. What have we got to look forward to next week, Simon, with this pair of matches?
Well, Alex is the seed in this group, but we haven't seen a huge amount from Alex in the previous months. He hasn't been at the first two tour events, so we don't really know how Alex is playing. Jack Whelan is the 2015 world champion, and looks to me like he's back to a little bit of form. He sort of dipped in form in terms of IPA results over the last sort of 18 months, but just the last two tournaments, there's signs to me that he's starting to get back to the form that took him to the world title. So probably put Jack favourite, even though Alex is the seed for next week.
Yeah, we've already seen the seed this week. All by the wayside, Luke Sanji's leaving the competition, defeated by Andy Blurton in our first semi-final tonight. Second consecutive week of the Champions Cup that the seed has toppled. Jordan Shepherd last week, Luke Sanji's this.
So another ball made off the break from Lee. These have come out quite nicely for him. Those yellows they're there. This is a good chance to win the match. He doesn't need to develop anything, that's the key. Everything goes, everything has a pocket. Yes, a couple of them need to be got on in the right way, but they're all there.
Yeah, I think we're at that stage now with Lee, the way that he's playing so well in this match. We're almost trying in our heads to create ways that he might not win this frame, but if he carries on the way that he has been playing, it's difficult to see him wasting this opportunity. It's not the easiest clearance, but the way that he's playing, you wouldn't expect him to waste it.
Yeah, just looking around, just trying to see how he could go about this finish. To me, I think he's got this one he's playing, and then the next one that's just next to it. And he's decided to go up the table first, which may not be a bad option, because it's actually the yellow that's nearest the black. Although it's fairly comfortable and wide open, he needs to play a good shot to get good position on it. So I think if he can just drop the yellow in to the top left now, almost leave the white where the yellow is, he's going to leave himself on that yellow to the top left corner as we look from the overhead. It's going to be a tough pot, but if he makes it, then it's there for him. And I think this is part of the reason he left the yellow where he did at the bottom end of the table, because if he makes this pot and avoids that yellow, then he'll be on that yellow, and it should give him easy position for the black. if he had left this as his last ball with the black there, he would be worried about overhitting it and not getting on the black.
Oh, and he's missed the pot. Well, we mentioned the way he's been playing. We didn't expect him to miss. That was a tough shot, though. And you can see by the way he's ended up with the white. Didn't quite get the white ball right. Didn't quite get the pot right.
Yeah, it looked like he had to play that with just a trace of check side just to avoid the yellow, and that's caused him to miss it thick. And yeah, that maybe it was the finish line in the sight, but it was a tough shot.
Phil then, make no mistake, is back to the wall here. He has to clear this to stay in the match and indeed the competition. It's fair to say Phil's trying not to overthink this one.
Yeah, he's running through this pretty quick, isn't he? It's not a bad tactic from time to time. If you know, sometimes you can overthink it. Sometimes, you know, just speeding up a fraction and just trying to, you know, almost find your natural game, just flow through it can get you going sometimes.
That's exactly what he's done. A couple of frames on the spin then for Phil Parkin. That have been rattled off in quick succession. Lee getting one in between, but good clearances from Phil. Now just give him a little bit of confidence. He's been needing that.
Yeah, that was Lee's first chance to win this match, and you know, he should get another. It'd be, you know, it's not crazy to think that Phil could dish three off the, you know, three on the trot off the break. But the way this match has gone, you'd expect Lee to get, you know, to get more chances to win the match. And it's how much will that first chance play on his mind? Will he let that affect him, or will he just wipe it from his memory and go again?
We saw it last week, didn't we, with the Jason Rivington and Michael Rhodes match, that you're never out of it until the very, very end.
Yeah, you've just got to keep going and stay positive and believe. You know, if you can just keep winning the next frame, then you're in with a chance. And you know, Phil's, you know, more than capable of dishing 3 frames on the trot. You know, can he do it at 5-3 down in this championship? Who knows? But he has the ability, and he's got a great break.
He has indeed. Decent split, plenty of options, couple of balls down.
Needs this white to keep going. Yeah, he needed another 3-4 inches on that shot there. You can see the face he's pulling. He knows he's come up short. If he comes another 3 inches, then he can pop the red to the left centre, drift down the table for the red to the right middle, and it would this finish would just unfold just really nicely for him. But now he's got to reroute and come up with something different, and it's tricky. And I don't think he's on anything. It was all about that previous shot, and we're talking about 2 or 3 inches, but coming up short has caused all the problems here.
Just wonder if you can possibly see the red near the pocket. He can probably hit it, but a bit of swerve maybe, is that possibly his only option?
It possibly is his only option to just swerve around this yellow, try and pot it. He hasn't got much margin of error if he does do that to get on the red to the right centre afterwards. And he's going to come up with a bit of time pressure soon as well, because we are on the shot clock tonight. We haven't touched on it too much, but it's he hasn't going to have too long to work out another choice if that isn't the way he wants to go.
Looks like he's swerving it. Big shot. Oh, he's overdone it.
Yeah, it was a really tough shot. At least he's hit it. He hasn't fouled. At least he's going to have to make, you know, Lee work for them.
He almost started that out a little bit too far outside the yellow, didn't he? And asked it an awful lot to come back all the way. Got loads and loads of swerve on it.
Yeah, just didn't quite get it right. But it's so hard to judge those shots.
Of course. So Lee Warren then with a chance to book his place in tonight's final if he can clear up now.
I was going to say that's brilliant because it's opened up the bottom pocket for a couple of yellows, but it's also blocked the bottom pocket for the yellow on the rail. But that yellow on the rail is in a nice position to play on it as a double. He's got problems still. The one on the rail that we've talked about, and the two that are together at the bottom end of the table. And I think we can definitely make them as a plant, but they're not. I don't think they're set as a straight plant.
It was never going to be easy, was it, for Lee Warren? You always felt that.
He may try to get the one on the rail out now. He has. Does the bottom one of the two at the bottom end of the table go to the bottom left? The overhead suggests not. So there is problem. Now we can't quite tell from that camera angle whether what he can do with those bottom two yellows.
Attention called.
See, I don't think it does.
Yeah, it looks incredibly tight. If it does, it's difficult to tell, but he may have to come up with another option. I mean, I do believe he can plant them, but he needs to get right behind them if he's going to do that.
I think he's just tried to disturb the red, which would have been a really good shot to leave that on the cushion, which would have cleared the way for him.
He's okay here. He's put the white in an area. What he's done is he's played the white into an area where he's going to give himself a shot at this yellow. If this yellow goes in, the match is at his mercy.
Needs it to drop. It does.
Brilliant.
Really, really good from Lee Warren once again. I think you said all the way through this match, Simon, since really his first frame on the board, Lee Warren has looked really, really good.
Yeah, he looked a little bit nervy in that first frame. Didn't quite get control of the white and made his chances tough. But once he got that first frame on the board, he's been brilliant, and he's come up with some brilliant shots and some great finishes. And the thing I'm impressed with this finish is the clear thinking to come up with that shot.
Well, Lee Warren with this shot here for a place in tonight's final versus Andy Blurton. He's done it. Take a listen to the reaction. The qualifier has made it through to the final. Lee Warren has done it.
I'm very, very impressed by Lee. What a great performance. And if he plays like that in the final, then he's going to give Andy some problems, that's for certain.
We'll take a look at those statistics. 6-3 total score in frames, but total balls potted is so close. I think it just all comes down, Simon, to those missed pots.
Yeah, you can really see the stats highlight it. The missed pots from Phil. He didn't make the most of the chances he had. You can see, almost potted as many balls, but missed 7 to Lee's 2, and that really is the difference in the match.
Lee Warren then will face Andy Blurton in tonight's final, and we'll hear from the semi-final victor after the break.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Joined by the winner of our second semi-final, Lee Warren. First of all, how do you feel?
Over the moon. Over the moon. Buzzing as well. Buzzing. In front of all my friends. Buzzing.
I was going to say, we can hear some of them in the background. They're absolutely delighted for you. What was it like playing with such a packed place? They're all here for you.
I don't know. I don't really know. To be fair, it's ups and downs because you can work both ways. So, but luckily tonight it's worked for me.
I was going to say, it seemed to go positively for you at least. You've had to play a full qualifying tournament even to get to this stage. What are you expecting from the final against Andy?
Very tough match. Very tough match player. If I miss, you punish, and that's all I can say about Andy. Andy just don't do nothing wrong.
Well, we wish you all the very best of luck, mate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's take a little look at how he made it. Oh, here we go then. That is our final tonight, week number 6 of the Champions Cup. It's Andy Blurton versus Lee Warren. Now, as we head into this competition ahead of week 1, this would have been, on paper, the least likely final. The seed went out and the qualifier went through in our second semi-final as well. So, first time I've seen that in the Champions Cup, and we're expecting a really good game, Simon.
Yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed that last match. Lee played just a brilliant match, but not just that he played well, he was very entertaining with the way he played as well, and he's got a big crowd here with him as well, and there really is a nice atmosphere out there. The thing for me in this match is how's Andy going to deal with the crowd that are going to be very much on Lee's side.
Yeah, it was a lovely interview with Lee, actually. Confessed to me afterwards he was more nervous about the interview than he was about playing Andy in the final.
Yeah, we don't get to do too many interviews as players, and yeah, I can relate to that.
I reassured him afterwards, said, "Now you've got the easy bit, mate."
Yeah, I was chatting. Talked about it before. The ability in tournament play to win a match, get the high of have a big win, and then go straight back to work on the next match. It's a skill in itself. So that's something Lee's going to have to watch. Can he reset, go back to 0-0 and start again?
It's actually the way you just said that there. It made me think of a sort of a parallel with the sport we all know and love. When you think about a football game, if you just scored, that's the time you're most likely to concede, and it's because of the mental way that you celebrate that win. You can't afford to celebrate it. You have to reset and take it the other way, and that will be a challenge for Lee. I think almost luckily for him is that Andy's got the break, has got one down, and Lee might not get a shot for a couple of minutes at least, just allowing that little extra bit of time to settle.
Yeah, no, it's definitely really going to be a really important factor in this match. And Andy's obviously, he's had the high of a win as well, but he played 45 minutes an hour ago, so he's had time. And the other thing is, with Andy being the professional and being a very experienced professional, is he's used to this, having the high of winning a match and then straight back on again as well.
And also, even aside from just pure experience, you just get the sense from Andy that he's got a really good temperament. I think you mentioned the phrase earlier that you can't tell what emotion he's thinking when he's at the table. Basically, he remains that impassive. Yeah,
you can't tell what the scoreline is by looking at his face, and that's a really impressive thing to have. So the thing he's considering here is that the pot's obviously very easy. He's going to be cannoning into the yellows. He's trying to work out what sort of control he's going to have off that to make it, if this shot comes out well, then the finish will be fairly comfortable.
Just a reminder, this final is a race to 6. Not an awful lot of time to settle for either player. You need to be straight into it. Both, to their credit, were pretty much doing that in their semi-finals. Andy Blurton didn't take much time at all to settle into his. Lee took a little bit longer, but once he did, he was phenomenal. It's a lovely shot from Andy.
Yeah, that's a great shot, and a great choice of shot as well, because if he takes the red over the corner pocket and cannons into the yellow, he loses the control. By playing the double, he's able to gain the control, and now he's in a position where he can just... He doesn't have to cannon into the yellows when plotting this red over the pocket, and he can come back out for the red into the left centre, and that will bring himself naturally down the table. So a really well thought... he took his extension, a really well thought out shot choice, and very well executed.
Yeah, he's almost Terminator-esque, isn't he, in his play, Andy Blurton. Almost plays no emotion, very smooth, very steady, very consistent. Yeah, it's a lovely shot into the middle.
Yeah, really well controlled shot. He's in absolutely prime position now.
Yeah, you'd be surprised to see Andy mess this one up from here. And as we mentioned, this might not be the worst thing to happen to Lee Warren. It will just give him a frame to settle down. He didn't have the break, so he won't necessarily be concerned about Andy breaking in addition. A player as good as Andy will do that, especially a player as good on the break as Andy will do that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can only control what you can control. You can't control what your opponent does. And if your opponent break dishes, it's not that hard to deal with. You just got to get ready for your go. It's interesting you say that a player that breaks as well as Andy did. We talked a lot about it in his semi-final, that the break, he's got a massive break, but it just didn't work for him in the semi-final, even though the scoreline was fairly emphatic. But the break he's hit here was very much more like an Andy Blurton break.
Yeah, he almost he got into them so well. Most of the balls ended up at the top of the table and nearly caused him a problem, because they were almost reversed, congested back at the other end, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You can see there those 4 yellows still lying up there, but that's pretty good from Andy Blurton. He will expect to take this first frame in the final. Slightly awkward queuing. Slightly awkward queuing, and that might have just made all the difference. Well, Lee Warren has an unlikely chance to win the first frame.
I'd all but given him that frame in mentally. I wasn't expecting him to miss that. I thought, yes, it's awkward queuing off the cushion, but he seemed to be queuing up on that shot for a very long time and just looked incredibly awkward on it. And it's caused him to miss it. So although he may not show any nerves out there, I think if that shot shows anything, it shows that he is feeling it a little bit out there.
And that's not quite gone, but I think he's okay, Lee. I think if there's one ball you don't want to miss, and this might sound a little bit more obtuse than it is, it's the black. And the reason for that is because if the frame then develops as it is now, it's so difficult to remain in it with no other balls to use in a safety battle.
Yeah, if you pop all the way down to the black and miss, and your opponent's got all their balls on the table, you're a big underdog. He doesn't have an open pot on, but he can get creative. I wonder if he can play a similar double that Luke played in the match against Andy. He attempted it, but very, very tough.
And Lee has almost got away with that, we'll say.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Because he's now got a far easier shot. He's rattled that one in. Lovely pace on it. And this now is a more routine clearance than the one before. It was a tricky yellow into the middle.
Yes, it was, and that was quite a nice shot that you just had. It was one that you could miss it, but it was a queuing shot. You could just punch it in nicely, really get yourself going again. And he's made that. These are all there. Very hard to find a way of not finishing them now.
Good opportunity for Lee Warren to take the first frame in the final. The qualifier had to come through a 16-man tournament here in Solihull. He knows this venue like the back of his hand. And you can hear the support for him every time he makes a good pot or clears a frame. Maybe even in the back of his interview as well. His mates are all winding him up.
They were making themselves known.
This should be unmissable. It should be 1-0, and it is. Wow. It's interesting, isn't it, Simon? Because we mentioned when Andy looked for all the world like he was going to clear up that Lee won't particularly mind this because it gets him away from the table, chance to relax and take it all in. Andy can break and dish as much as he likes. Lee can't control it. That has to go down as the perfect start there.
Oh, absolutely. You've got your opponent on edge now because they've missed the ball. And they've missed a chance to win the frame, and you counter-finished, and yeah, it's just perfect for him.
And let's just remind ourselves of Andy's recent tournament history. He's been in fantastic form in the last 12 months, quarterfinals, semi-finals, all over the place there. Most recently as well in Wales in the Welsh Professional, knocked out by Jimmy Carney at the semi-final stage, and then Mark Farnsworth in the Open. He's playing really, really nicely. He got unlucky getting drawn against John McAllister, who's played brilliantly in the World Championships, but he's had a great 12 months, Andy Blurton.
He has, and just before our recent history just goes back to August 2017. Just before that, sometime last spring, he made the final of a professional event. He hasn't won a professional event yet, but he has won a number of amateur events, and I do think it's a matter of time with Andy. He's that good a player. Fully expect to see him in the top 16 next season.
And a good break from Lee. Oh, wouldn't it really be, I know this is very early days, but wouldn't it be such a boon to all the local qualifiers to see Lee Warren in this final and really competing in it? Won't tempt fate by projecting the result, but this will be a close game, and that's what we're expecting. And Lee has given himself a good chance here to win the second frame with the break. Needs to make a couple of good shots though. That's maybe not the greatest. Don't think that red sneaks past that yellow.
No, that's awkward. It's he's not got good position. These reds are messy. I think the best case scenario here is possibly just to try and get this red down towards the corner pocket, maybe take the pocket, try and get control in the frame. He may play it off the yellow to do that. He may be able to do it directly. Yeah, it's what he tried.
Got a fairly reasonable white again. We actually did see in his match with Phil Parkin just in our second semi-final that his safety play was actually excellent. Lee Warren. He's definitely got that in his arsenal. He's not going to be afraid to go into a tactical frame with Andy.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough of Lee to play to really, comment too much on that. But what I would say against that is that Andy is as good a player as he is. He's such a well-rounded player that I wouldn't want to get into a tactical battle with him. He's got he's a very, very good tactical player as well as being a fantastic, disher as well. So he's got all the styles of play he needs.
He's at the table at the moment. He's got half a chance here. If your yellows at this stage sound, are you fancying the clean-up, or has he got a little bit more work to do before he really starts to believe?
I think the finish is on. He's what he's looking at is the yellow that he's not the one he's nearly touching, but the one just below that is a little bit awkward. He needs to take the one that he's nearest to first to almost open the pocket up for the other one. But once he's done that, then these will open up, and these are really quite comfortably placed for him. The only reason I'll say there's some extra pressure on this is by the way he missed in the first frame.
Wow. Took on the double, and I think it's fair to say it's a double that he'd have really expected to make. It almost checked off the cushion, didn't it?
Yeah, I think he just straightened up with the pace he put into it, and yes, I didn't expect him to miss the double. I thought he might be taking the cut on, but if it was just a little bit too thin to control the white, the double's the better choice. Didn't expect him to miss it either way. Well, he hands another chance to Lee, and this will, if Lee can find a way of finishing here, this will really hurt Andy. It's a bad miss from Lee. I always think when you're playing players of Andy's class, when you're playing some of the top players, when they make mistakes, and you can be, sometimes you can sit in your chair and you can watch them playing such high level pool that you think they're never going to make mistakes, but they do, that all players do. When they do, you need to punish it, and I think it's important for Lee there to have punished that mistake. He managed to do it in the first frame, but he may have missed a trick here.
And that is a really good shot from Andy Blurton.
Yeah, he couldn't pot that without playing it with a little swerve, and very good shot.
Yeah, far better shot than maybe at first looked. That really, really good. And a couple of surprising misses for a player so almost robotically consistent, and you wouldn't expect Andy Blurton to waste a second opportunity in this frame.
Yeah, he would have liked to have been straight to the top right corner, the yellow in the middle of the three. That's where he needs to get to from this shot now. That's not very good. That's not the best positional shot he's ever played. The problem is if he takes the one that's nearest the top rail into the top left, he's cannoning into the reds and loses control for position. And if he takes the other yellow, then it's a very difficult pot and difficult position as well. So this is tricky.
Yeah, it's really not easy either way, because I don't think he can rely on. It's difficult to. He's taken the middle one on. Didn't fancy the cannon into the reds at all. You can understand why. This is tough.
He's snookered himself. Yeah, it's been a really surprising start to me from Andy in this final. He's normally just so relentless from these sort of situations where all his balls go, and you just got to watch your white and control yourself around the table. And he's normally so good at that I'm really surprised the way this match has started.
I think that's the first time I've really seen almost a flicker of annoyance in the face of Andy Blurton. It's not outside the realms of possibility that Lee doesn't clean up here.
And that's all Andy could do. I mean, he was half hoping to pot the yellow, but he's thinking, if I can hit the yellow, at least the two reds on the table are going to be difficult to get on for him. But he's hit the yellow full and left Andy on that red at the top of the table, which makes this finish much, much simpler for him. He doesn't have to play the difficult positional shot.
Yeah, he did all he could in hitting the yellow, but actually the worst possible place he could have hit the yellow. He'd have hit it a fair bit thinner. He might well have potted it, and it would also have left Lee with a far more difficult clearance, even if he hadn't have potted it.
Yeah, if he could have put, that was the worst place on the table. He could have left the white in terms of how easy to make Lee's finish.
Lee Warren here with a really good chance to steal another one. Wouldn't expect an error here. It's not the easiest black he's left, especially with the nerves that seem to be accompanying every single shot in this final so far. It's one you expect to make, and one that he does. It's 2-zip Lee Warren. A little shake of the head from Lee. I'm not sure he's enjoying this as much as he thought he might at the start of the night.
Yeah, it's one of those shake of the heads from a player that's won a frame and thinks, I probably should have won that earlier than I did. But he's going to be happy and thrilled to be 2-0 up, because Andy's had 3 unbelievable chances to win frames in this match so far.
It's been interesting, hasn't it, from Lee Warren's perspective, that both of his frames so far have come from Andy blurted mistakes. The first was obviously that miss on the black. The second time he's run out of position on what should have been a fairly routine clearance after a miss from Lee.
Yeah, and he's missed the double as well, so he's had 2 great bites of the cherry in that previous frame. He's feeding off Andy's mistakes. Andy's had the first chances in the frames. That's a surprise for me.
Would have been very understandable perhaps if it was the other way around, if Lee had come into this final and missed a black early on and missed a couple of relatively simple pots. Maybe understandable as a qualifier, as the one who you might expect to feel more nervous, but
yeah, I completely agree. I thought that I was concerned for Lee on his side of the table that might happen because of the high of winning the previous match, but it hasn't. It's been the other way round.
Andy needs his break to come up big for him here. Needs a frame. Get himself settled into this final. Yellow is down. It's another big split. And realistically, I think here he'd be expecting not to see Lee Warren at the table in this frame. It's not the most basic of clearances, but it's there for him.
Yeah, there's a chance here. This isn't. At first glance, it was going to be tricky, but these yellows are definitely solvable, as are the reds. If he goes yellows, then the yellow that's nearest the left centre, that's almost touching the rail, he's probably going to have to double. If he goes reds, then the red at the bottom end of the table, I think the yellow that's touching it is stopping it from going to either corner pocket, so that will need to be nudged. And this is a bit of a 50-50 call, really. It's which way you feel about the clearance.
Well, he's going reds. I was going to say, if he went yellows, I was going to offer a potential route around, but reds is the call. That's a lovely shot down the rail. So reds it is, and is he going to look to play into these 2 reds off this one here, perhaps?
He has to, unless he's just looking. Yeah, the left-hand one of the 2 will go into the centre, which is really good news for him. So for me, this all hinges on the red that's touching the yellow at the bottom end of the table. If that goes into the bottom right, or so the bottom left as we look, normally you would say you want to take it to the bottom left because that's where it's nearest, but with the red being to the left hand side of it, it's so nice and easy for him to get onto it to the bottom right. If it goes anywhere, it's going to go to that bottom right. If not, he's got to nudge into it.
Yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle to be solved. He wants to break into them. Yeah, you can see there it's probably a little too tight.
Yeah, I don't think it goes in that pocket. For me, if it goes anywhere, it might just go into the other corner pocket. Yeah, if it goes into the other corner pocket, he's perfect on it to get on it. But he has enough angle if he needs to cannon into it as well. He's probably got both shots, but it's maybe a fraction straight to control the cannon. I think he the way he's looking for me, I think this does go. I think he's just going to drop this in and play on it. And that clearly shows that it does. So this goes to the right-hand corner. I don't think he's got the best of angle on it, though.
No, he does look very straight, doesn't he?
Yeah, he would have loved to have been an extra inch down the table. He may have to just come back an inch or two and take the red to the long corner. He may be able to come back a little bit further and take the red into the right centre. I don't know if it passes the black. I think it might.
Yeah, you can see there the red actually pretty clearly goes past that yellow.
Yeah, so he's, this is tough. This is tough, and it's doubly tough because of the chances he's missed already in this match. There's some real pressure on this shot.
Going straight after it. Played it really well.
Yeah, that's very, very impressive from Andy.
That's a nerve settler for Andy Blurton. A real nerve settler. It's a break and dish, but one that he really had to work hard for. It was never going to come easy, his first frame, especially after the first couple. But a good win for Andy Blurton, that's for sure.
Yeah, we touched on his temperament before at the beginning of the match, and that highlighted how good it is. He didn't show too much, or didn't show any emotion with the mistakes he made in the first two frames, and he's come back and managed to make a very, very nice finish to get himself going in this match.
And a reminder of what's coming up next week in Solihull. The competition is beginning to get towards the halfway stage. That's what we're playing for. That trophy in the background. Alex O'Donoghue and Andrew Mackey will face off against Jack Whelan and Matt Ward. They're the two semi-finals. Winner from each will advance through to week 7's final. From a player's perspective, Simon, what's been the attitude on the circuit to the Champions Cup so far? Because obviously we're so far into it now, just had our second tour event of the year as well. That we've had we've had 5 weeks heading up to Aberdeen. Imagine players who haven't played in it yet are asking all the players that have, how was it? What do you think of it? All that sort of stuff. What's the general vibe around the circuit?
Yeah, I think all the players seem to be enjoying it. There's been a lot of chat about it at the events. All the players are sitting down and watching, as spectators, and then gearing up for their week. And yes, they want to talk to the players and see how they got on with it, how they found it. It's a very unique format. It is different, so any little insights they can get for their matches that can only help them. But yeah, I think that just the general feeling is excitement, really. So dry break from Lee is giving Andy a chance to level the scores, because this is a very nice split for him.
Yeah, played that well under the pressure of the shot clock.
It's just the 3 in a line. Those 3 in a line, he needs to be careful. He doesn't really need to open any of them up. He doesn't need to move them. He probably just needs to take them all in the right order.
Of course, be precise with his position, because they're so close. It doesn't allow an awful lot of margin for error.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the key, really, is just keeping close control for those 3. The bottom one of the 3 clearly pots to the bottom left. Once that's gone, then the one above it will definitely pot to the bottom right, but he also has to get rid of other yellow to the bottom right first. Then once that's gone, then the other one's got options. So, yeah, it's just a little bit awkward, but it's solvable. It's just got to be careful.
I think that bottom yellow of the 3 is what he's going to look to play now. He'll be frustrated to have had such a decent split and not have a chance to play it at the table.
Yeah, and that's all you can do with the break is you can hit it, just hit it as well as you can, get a nice big split, and hope you make a ball. If you have to believe that if you continue to hit the break well and you continue to get good splits, that you're going to get the lion's share of the chances from it.
And he's just taking his attention there, Andy, just to line this one up and just make sure of where he wants to play his next few shots. He had to be precise.
Yeah, I don't know whether either of those yellows go to the centre. It looks like it doesn't, the top centre. If it does, that makes things a lot easier, but it looks a little bit too tight for me. If it doesn't, then where he would love to get the white to is where the black is. He looks quite thin on this yellow to the bottom left corner, but it looks like no, it does go to the middle. That's very deceptive. Or is he taking it to the corner?
It's the corner.
It's the corner. He's missed it, and he's nudged the other yellow safe. So those two they looked easier than they probably were. I thought he would be able to solve them.
Does it just go down as almost a poor positional shot to have left that, because it can't be what he was intending?
I think he was always intending on the way he's gone about that. I think he was always intending on playing that to the corner. He wanted to be straight on it though. Not he didn't want to have the angle he had on it, which meant he was cannoning. And you can see, even if he's made that yellow, he's made the other yellow safe. He's knocked it next to the red, and that means he's got to cannon it out. I think that was probably on his mind. I think Lee was going for the double there, but didn't quite get the pace on it and didn't quite get the line.
Yeah, quite a way off that one for Lee.
So he
just slid off the cushion, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. So he's given Andy another chance, but as I just said a minute ago, it's that yellow he's cannoned onto the red has now made that yellow awkward. I don't think there's any doubt that he's going to go for a finish here. It's just he needs to either cannon that yellow. It will, I think, go to the top right, or if he gets perfect on it, it may go to the right centre. But he hasn't got much margin of error for that yellow.
Could look playing it now with a shot of the yellow over the bottom right and leave it back at the table, as you mentioned. I think that looks to be the route. Oh, well, he's broken into them, and how's it come off for him?
Yeah, I think that's okay. I think it goes to the bottom left. He may not have the full pocket, but it definitely goes. He can still cut the one to the centre, but the control of the white is difficult because he's quite thin on it.
Just drops, and he's played that really nicely. Actually, it's perfect on the next yellow as well.
Yeah, I think he has to play it. He's got the centre pocket and he's got that jaw. He can't. The red was blocking the other jaw, so it wasn't a full pocket, which kind of makes you go almost wide on it. So that was a very, very well played shot.
It was a shot that he would have been a bit worried about with the shots that he's already missed in this final. Those difficult shots almost become a little bit more difficult when a few have gone wrong before it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It just adds to if you've missed balls already, it will just add to the pressure of difficult shots.
This one should be routine.
Great, Andy Brennan.
There we go. It's 2 apiece in the final. Andy Blurton has had to work very hard to get himself back into this.
Yeah, it's been an odd match so far. All the sort of first chances have gone to Andy. And he's taken, well, he took one of them, he's taken 2 bites of the cherry to take another, and so far it's been can Lee counter once Andy's made a mistake, and a couple of times he has and once he hasn't. But so far Andy's definitely getting the lion's share of the chances, and he'll definitely be happier to be 2-2.
Will it play on his mind at all, the fact that it could and quite possibly maybe even should be 4-0? He's had a chance to win every frame.
I think if he had gone 3-1 behind, or 3-1, 4-1, or 3-2, I think if you were behind in that situation, maybe you can think about those mistakes. I think now he's got himself back to 2-2. I don't think he'll think about that mistake again. I mean, he may not have done anyway. He's got a brilliant temperament, but I really think that's gone now. Oh, he's unlucky.
Oh, he is indeed. He actually ended up going dry. I just wonder if the white that's gone in off is very unlucky. Yeah, double kiss on the red. It was already bad enough that I think that break was going dry regardless of the white going in off, but to go in off, it's the worst possible break, especially with the amount he's got into them. Look at the spread.
Yeah, he's found his break. He didn't have his break in the first match. He couldn't get it going, but this one absolutely definitely has. And this is the interesting thing for me. This is the first time Lee's had the first opportunity. I think he had first chance in the first frame, but it was a sort of pot and safety exchange. This is the first time he's going to go for the finish first, and it's going to be interesting to see if he can find his route, because they're all there for him.
Yeah, he's elected to use reds. It was actually a lovely plant shot on the yellows initially from his shot on a visit, but reds are the option he's chosen. They're all pretty handy for him, it has to be said. And in potting the yellow over the pocket, it's just cleared the black pocket.
Yeah, that was the plan with that first shot, was just get the yellow away from the black. He wasn't that bothered whether it went in or not, because he played it at a pace where if it doesn't go in, it's going to jaw and spit away from the pocket. He was just opening up the pocket for the black. All the reds were so comfortable. That was his only problem.
You can see here, this is his route. Almost drop to dot at this point.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this is probably just four drop-ins, really.
Simple as you like for Lee Warren. And he'll be kicking himself to have gone in off. Not that he has any control over it, but he wouldn't be human if he wasn't feeling a touch of frustration.
Yes, absolutely. He's got himself back in the match. He's thinking, if I can get a big break here, get myself in front, but it's gone absolutely the other way. And he's gone in off, and a lovely reverse dish from Lee. Very impressive stuff.
Lee Warren moves into a 3-2 lead in tonight's final. Those are the half-time stats. It's pretty close, as you might imagine. Balls potted are very close. Even missed pots are very close as well. It should be an exciting and thrilling end to tonight's competition. See it conclude after the break.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Welcome back to Solihull, week 6 of the IPA Freesports Champions Cup. Lee Warren, you see him there braking, not having the greatest time, but he has got one down, but this lie looks pretty complicated. He's going well. He's 1 frame up on Andy Blurton, 3 frames to 2 the score at the interval. It's a very close final so far. Stephen Jameson, Simon Webb taking you through the action on this one.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a really big break. He made a ball early, all the balls got moving, and then they all came back together in the middle of the table, looking at leaving him a very, very congested split.
He's absolutely flashed that in, and I can't believe the reaction of the balls that he's cannoned into has not been more.
Yeah, he's so unlucky here. I mean, that's really not. I mean, if that white stops an inch less and he's on the yellow to the bottom, then he's opened up the table. The pace he played into that, he's very unlucky not to be on a ball. It was a nice shot as well. He can count himself a bit unfortunate there. Now needs to concentrate and try and make sure he hits the ball. Don't leave anything too easy for Andy.
I think he's done that okay. I think he can be pretty pleased with that.
Yeah, I wonder if the red next to the yellow will plant onto the red over the pocket. If it does, then he's got a chance here. If it doesn't, then it's a safety shot. I think it does.
Oh, well, if it does, he couldn't quite make it.
Yeah, just he needed to catch that a fraction fuller, just a fraction. Oh, so close to making that.
It does go down as another missed pot for Andy. That's a lovely reverse shot, that from Lee. That wasn't easy.
It wasn't, but he needed another few inches would have been ideal. The overhead shows he's still on this yellow that he's nearest to the corner, but if he's an extra couple of rolls, it just makes life easier. So much so he's taking a different pot on.
Oh, and he's missed it.
I think this is going to be big moments in this match, because I think Andy's almost forced into taking this red down the rail. If he makes it, I fully expect him to clear up and win the frame. If he misses it, he's going to be potentially leaving Lee a very good chance to go 4-2 ahead.
Great shot. And that has opened the frame right up for Andy Blurton to square things up at 3 apiece. That missed shot from Lee. How much will he look back on that? Maybe at the end of this game and regret it. Good chance this now for Andy.
Yeah, that shot down the rails opened everything up. These are there now. Just nudged the black down to the bottom rail, so he needs to play a nice positional shot on his last ball. It shouldn't be a problem, but it's just, you've still got to get there.
Yeah, he's played that nicely. Just means that he can almost run down off the red over the middle pocket onto the black. It's there for him.
Yeah, he may end up being forced to take the black into the bottom left-hand corner pocket rather than the bottom right-hand corner pocket. He needs to get really quite good position on this red if he wants to get onto the black into its obvious bottom right-hand corner pocket. And I'm not sure he's straight. He needed to be straighter on this, I think, to get onto it to the bottom right. I think he is. I think the overhead shows. I think he's almost forced into playing it. It shouldn't be a problem, but it's just, it's not his natural pocket, if you like.
And actually the way that's come back off the jaw rather than the cushion has straightened the white up, and it's just made it slightly easier for him, I think. And that one is dispatched. Yeah, he did miss a relatively similar black in the first frame, and he'll be pleased to get that one away and tie things back up at 3 apiece. Reminder of what we can expect, or what we've seen rather, in the last 32. These are all the finals that we've seen so far. So we saw Mark Farnsworth dispatch Michael Oliver in week 1. Ronan McCarthy did similarly with Lee Ray. Then we had our Cardiff boys, Curtis Lee being beaten by Christian Phillips and Corey Rees beaten by Craig Marsh. And our first seed fell by the wayside last week, Jordan Shepherd beaten by Jason Rimington.
Yeah, that Craig Marsh Corey Rees match, it was very, very entertaining. Certainly match of the tournament for me so far. Really, really enjoyed it.
And those are the 5 men through to our last 16. Mark Farnsworth versus Christian Phillips, we already know are one of our matches. Ronan McCarthy, Jason Rimington and Craig Marsh waiting on bated breath to see who they'll play in the next round. Andy Blurton will be really hoping to join those 5 gentlemen in the second rounds. It's not going to be easy.
Andy so far in this match has got his break going. He didn't work very well for him at all in the semi-final, even though he won it comfortably. But so far in this match, he has broken very, very well. Can he continue it now?
And the last frame actually is the first instance that we've seen of Lee missing a shot to allow Andy in to get one back at him.
Yeah, it was almost a reversal of the first 2 frames, wasn't it? Went the other way round this time. So Andy's made a ball, but he didn't quite catch that break as good as he has done the previous breaks in this match, which shows in the split that he's been left with. Fairly congested in the bottom end of the table. A couple of problems to solve. I think, first glance, I think reds are a fairly good chance for him. That red next to the yellow in the middle of the table will go into the centre pocket. I don't know whether it'll go into the. I don't think it'll go into the top centre pocket. If you can get the white somewhere near where the black is, it'll go into the centre pocket it's nearest to. And all the other reds have pockets, so a good chance.
He's opted to play into them, and he's not left it easy, if maybe even at all.
Yeah, I don't know whether, if the red he's nearest to goes into the bottom left, then he's got a chance. If it doesn't, he can still pot it to the bottom right. It's just an easier pot to the bottom left. I think the way he's lining this up, just the way he's looking at the potting angle to the bottom right, I think he's definitely taking this to the bottom right. It's a tough pot, but it should reward him with the frame. Brilliant.
Played that really nicely, didn't he?
And look at the control of the white, absolutely back in prime position. He played that with a
lovely shot.
He played that with an extreme amount of side as well to spin the white down into the bottom half of the table. That wasn't just a great pot, that was a brilliant positional shot as well. He's got 2 choices here. He can take either red. If he drops the red into the centre, then when he plays the red to the corner, he may be forced with having to avoid all the yellows going up to the top of the table for the black. He may have to thread the needle with the next shot. he may play this. I think the black goes to the top right, so I think he may play this with an awful lot of right hand side. So he spins off the top cushion and tries to get onto the black to the top right.
Looks like there is a lot of right hand side on this. There is indeed. He's had to keep moving though.
And that's quite a nicely controlled shot. It's a fairly comfortable pot on the black. He would have loved another 6 inches on the position, but he does have a comfortable shot on it.
Back and forth, to and fro. Andy Blurton now has the lead in the final. It's 4-3. 2 away from a place in the next round of the Champions Cup. And the lead for the first time.
Yeah, he's got himself in front, which is important, and he's also found his break, because that's 2 break dishes on the trot from Andy.
And a reminder of what we've still got to come and also what we've had so far on the Champions Cup Tour. We're back in Solihull next week and indeed the week after. Then we've got a couple of trips to Chester, followed by a return to Cardiff. We then head south to London for Twickenham for a couple of weeks. We'll see the world champion Ben Davies, I believe, there as well. We head back up to Sheffield in week 14. Then it's up to Bonnie, Scotland for our final 2 weeks in Greenock and Falkirk. And I know we've mentioned earlier on about the sort of atmosphere on the tour, about the excitement of this competition. The Scots in particular will be itching to play in this by that point, I think.
Yeah, and the strength and depth in Scotland is quite impressive, and the standard of players in those 2 qualifying matches, or the 2 group matches in Scotland, will be extremely high, and very tough to pick a winner from those groups there.
We actually saw an all-Scottish final, didn't we, in Aberdeen on the tour this weekend.
Yeah.
Dunster taking on Mark Boyle. And if that's an example of what we can expect from the talent of the boys up in Scotland, then it should be a really good way to round off the Champions Cup tour round, if we'll call it that. Yeah,
and we'll see both Liam and Mark in action in those groups. I'm not sure if they've been drawn in the same group or not, but I know they're both playing. And yeah, they're arguably Scotland's 2 finest players at the moment, but they do have an awful lot of strength and depth.
Lee Warren at the table then wants to respond. Oh, and he won't quite get it there. And he'll be frustrated to miss that one. It wasn't an easy shot. They never seemed to be into the middle pocket. And he's just missed it thick.
Yes, is he starting to feel the pressure of the occasion?
Of course he didn't. That was his shot to nominate, which means Lee can take the yellows. Andy can take the yellows and almost steal the initiative from Lee.
Yeah, it was important to get yellows. Yellows are a far better colour set in this frame. The only yellow that's a problem potentially is the yellow on the bottom rail. If that goes, then these yellows are as comfortable and as nice as you could ever wish to have them.
Good chance then for Andy Blurton to go 1 away from victory in this final. Reminder, we will see all the action live here on Freesports. We are scheduled to finish at 10:30, but we will see the remainder of the action in this final. You won't miss a beat from the pool here in Solihull. Not that Andy Blurton will plan on taking it much longer than that at this rate.
Yeah, he's got plans to wrap this match up fairly quickly. Just the way he's gone about this finish suggests to me that this yellow on the bottom rail does pass the red. The overhead camera makes it look like it's very tight, but the way he's gone about the finish to me suggests it does go. Oh, doesn't want to be hampered. If this yellow is tight, then playing it from a Chinese snooker is just going to make it trickier. I think he may just be able to cue past the red without having too much trouble.
Yeah, I think he's just about okay. So, yeah, you can see does have to cue from a way away, but at least he's not hampered. Just wants that to drop, and it does, and he's definitely hampered for the next one. It just goes to show, don't you? You run out of position just by an inch, and it can affect the rest of your break.
Yeah, the good news for Andy is all he needs to do on this this yellow is drop it in. He doesn't need to do anything positionally, just needs to concentrate on the pot.
It is awkward queuing, no doubt about that. Oh, and it's caused him to miss it. Well, we saw it in the very first frame, didn't we, Simon? The awkward queuing on the black. It wouldn't even surprise me if that was playing in his mind the last time he had to jack up his hand like that.
Well, interestingly, I was just thinking when he was playing that if he was to play that dead weight and just drop it in, it probably makes the pot a fraction easier because you're hampered queuing. But he would have left the black from the rail, and it would have been such a similar black to that he missed in the first frame that, he's obviously punched it out to get perfect on the black and make it unmissable. I wonder if it was playing on his mind.
Well, Lee Warren here has it's not the easiest chance, but it's a good chance to bring this back level at 4 apiece. The two reds on the top cushion are not easy. The one on the side rail is perhaps even more difficult, but it's there for him.
He's going to go for the safety shot. He's going to bump the red out and just get the white behind the other reds. Has he gone too far with the white? I don't know whether Andy can see this. If Andy can see this, I don't think he can do a lot with it.
Yeah, you can see. I don't think you can see the potting angle unless you fancy he's been really aggressive and swerving it.
But if he can see the other side of it, then the yellow doesn't pot to the bottom left. So it may be the right shot. It may be the right shot is to play the swerve and try and get it going towards the pocket. Lee would still have to negotiate the red on the rail, and there's some pressure out there.
Shot clock ticking.
Just trying to get the white behind the black. He might have second prize. Well, he's going to be thrilled with that because the only red that Lee can see is the red that's on the rail. And yes, he would. If he was going to try and win the frame with a clearance, he'd have to pot it, but not from where he is now. That's very, very tough.
Well, this all comes down to, does he fancy taking it on? I don't think he is. I think he's going to try and just knock it out and play safe.
Yeah, that double kiss has given Andy a chance to pot this yellow now. As tough as it is, he's going to be thrilled to even have the opportunity to pot it.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's almost seems to be a rite of passage to win a final. You've got to take on these moments. It's there for Andy Blurton. It's not easy, but pot it and he should win the frame and be one away. He's a long way away from it. Where's the white ball going? Oh, I tell you what, it couldn't have actually ended up too much worse, that for Andy. He's nowhere near the pot, and actually if he'd have been closer, it would have stayed a little bit more near the pocket. It's a great shot from Lee to knock that red in, but even if Andy gets another shot here, the yellow was up near Lee's reds. It didn't have a pocket.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with that shot from Lee. I thought he might take on another safety shot with the red at the top of the table because he had to take on that pot to the corner, and with the pressure out there, if he misses that, he knew he was going to be leaving Andy an absolute dolly yellow. But he's just cued it in really, really nicely and left himself in prime position.
Looks pretty straight on this, but black is pretty much bang in the middle of the table. Shouldn't be difficult to get on. Need to just have enough angle to squeeze down to the bottom of the table. So this to make it 4 apiece. but you aren't. Gets it. Oh, it wiped its feet a bit, but he won't mind too much about that. We're level again.
Yeah, I thought he missed that when he hit it. I thought that was going to hit the jaw and stay up. There was a fair bit of pace on it, but in it's gone, and it is 4-4. Yeah, we can see it's fairly even on balls potted, but just as importantly, it's 4-4 on balls missed. The surprising thing for me from the stats as we look at it is the pots that Andy's has missed. 2 or 3 of them have been pots I just really would never have expected Andy to miss. He's missed, obviously he missed one, the last one in that frame, which was very, very tough, and that can be missed at any time. But the previous pots, you just don't expect a player of Andy's level to really ever miss. And I think that was a real big error from Andy. He could have been 5-3 up, and that's a massive difference, 5-3, 4-4.
And the reverse dish as well, towards the start of the match, might take on a whole new sort of complexion by the end in the grand scheme of things. Reverse dishing, such a brutal tactic in such a short format of the game. Andy again not really getting too into his break, and that I think is going to come up dry. It is, and despite the fact he's not really gone into it, Simon, these reds look really inviting.
Yeah, Andy just hasn't. I mean, he's broke a lot better in this match than he did in the semi-final, but over the course of the whole night, I'm surprised he hasn't found. Normally it's such a massive strength of his game, and you're absolutely right with these reds. They have come out. Even though he didn't get the best contact on the break, they have come out very, very nicely for Lee. He needs to avoid the red, so he can pot the red that's over the pocket, but he needs to avoid the red that's just above it when he screws back out. The position, as silly as it sounds, when the red's right over the pocket, the position onto the next red is actually really, really tough. He may need to just come straight back along the bottom rail if he can. That's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, that red just above it almost wobbled rather than ricochet.
Yeah, he had to sort of pinch the pocket to be able to do that. That's not good though. It's gone wrong.
Needed to hit that yellow full ball and he hasn't.
Yeah, he doesn't have a pot on now. He can't. It's just going to be a safety shot of some sort. It looks like if he can reach over that yellow, play the red that's at the bottom of the table, all about 3/4 ball, and try and get the white somewhere down on the bottom rail just to the left of the black. I don't think he's got far enough across the table. I think he's left the yellow to the right centre.
Looks that way, doesn't it? I think he's just under hit that because the red's come off on the cushion as well, which is, well, I think definitely not what he was intending.
Yeah, he was just trying to guard against overhitting it and leaving one of the yellows at the top end of the table. But that was, if you're going to miss the shot one way or another, you'd much rather have overhit that and don't want to leave this yellow to the centre. You'd rather have left one of the longer pots that are trickier. Well, it's obviously tight because Andy's having a really good look at this.
Well, he's missed this shot before, hasn't he? We saw this a couple of frames ago. He's used his extension. A very similar shot to the one that he missed a couple of frames ago, which let Lee win the frame. In fact, I say a couple of frames ago, in the last frame.
Yeah, he was slightly more hampered in the last frame, but it was a very, very similar shot. You're absolutely right.
And he's played an almost identikit copy.
Yeah, it just hit the far jaw.
Oh, he won't be able to. You won't believe that, Andy Blurton. Great chance. And you can see there in the replay how he cued it. Didn't have the excuse this time of the hampered cue.
Needs the white to not sit on that black. Oh, that's not good again. He needed the white an inch to the left there. There's some tension out there now. There really is.
Yeah, I think that's clear to see, isn't it? I think at the start of the night, both these players, we saw in their semi-finals, they were both playing with far more freedom. And now it's almost as if the randomly at some point in this final the balls just weigh a bit different and the pockets seem smaller.
The game seems harder.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case.
Yeah, I think it's just your cue arm doesn't feel normal. Everything, it just doesn't. It's just not a good feeling.
Is he just taking a look at the double here?
I think he's considering coming off the bottom cushion and hitting the red that's on the bottom rail. I think he's had a look to see what would he leave if he leaves the white where the red is. He'll nudge. He's gone for that shot.
What a shot that
wow.
is!
I thought he was going for the red on the bottom rail as a safety option. To take that pot on that's brilliant. That really is exceptional.
I just thought he was lining that up the way that he was playing with his cue. I just thought, is he going to be brave enough to take this on? And I tell you what, well, it's the old cliche, isn't it? Fortune favours the brave.
Oh, absolutely. And this has come out it couldn't have hoped for this to come out better. He's made the ball. Yes, this is a tough pot, but if he makes it, he's going to be on the last red.
Oh, it just drops. Where's the white ball?
He's slightly overhit it, but he's still on it. He just flicked the near jaw, but it's dropped in.
And he's not going to have it easy to control the white for this black, but to even have had a chance after sticking on that black ball to go one away.
I'm just in shock with the quality of that pot from the side rail. That was just incredible to give himself this opportunity. Oh, the control on this shot is just absolutely fabulous. That's brilliant. He's not got the full pocket. He's only got half a pocket. He's got the centre of the pocket, which is important.
If he's really picky, he wanted this to be a bit straighter. But the fact that he's even got a shot is
What
something.
a finish.
And he's done brilliantly. This club has just erupted. Wow, quite incredible. He's got plenty of support in this club, his local club. And goodness me, what a moment.
That really was amazing. That really was incredible. I was just trying to work out what safety options he had. Where could he leave the white? Where could he make it awkward for Andy? And he came up with just a moment of brilliance.
Really was just a moment of inspiration. It's probably actually the clearance of the tournament so far.
I think so. If you consider the pressure, I mean, that's a brilliant shot. When you just consider the pressure of the situation, the way that both players were making mistakes and it was nervy, to come up with a shot of that quality, and not only that, but it was awkward afterwards. Yes, they were there, but he overhit the shot because he was Chinese snookered, and then he's had to play a very, very delicate positional shot, and even the black only had half a pocket. Absolutely brilliant from Lee Warren.
And he's got a good break. It is genuinely possible that Andy Blurton might have played his last shot in this competition. That white ball did jump, that's how much he got into it. A red and a yellow have rattled into the top pocket.
Okay, he needs to make a yellow. It's not easy. If he makes a yellow, then these yellows are a great chance to win the match. But I think the only yellow he can make, well, he may be able to make the one he's nearest to, but I don't think he's going to take that on. It'll be the yellow that's to the top right as this overhead look. So to the top left from the main camera. And I think it's a very, very tough shot from the jaws in the middle pocket. He needs to control the white nicely as well. If this goes in and he gets position, he's going to give himself a great chance.
Well, no hesitation. He slammed it in, and he's just almost played it with too much on it. I think the problem ball that you identified, Simon, the one that he was sat closest to off the break, I think it's his only real option now to double it.
Yeah, I think it's. I think that's it. I think that's all he's got. Although he's not on an open pot, he'll be actually quite pleased to finish there.
Well. Lee Warren, the qualifier, the local qualifier, has got a great chance here to advance through not just his semi-final, but also into this next round of the Freesports Champions Cup.
Oh, he's underhit that one. He needed to get another 6-8 inches up the table. I think this yellow still cuts, but he's going to be cannoning into the other yellow, and he's going to have not that much control on the white. This white's going to be travelling off that yellow.
He's got no option to play it. Doesn't waste his time thinking about it. Oh, and that's the worst possible outcome. He's actually almost missed the first ball. He had to catch it that thinly, and he's cannoned it off. He's unlucky to go in off, of course, but well, what a moment.
Yeah, but that was all down to the position. He didn't get good position onto that yellow. That's what made it tricky.
And why was that, Simon? Because he seemed to play it with an awful lot of pace, but for the white to stick as much as it did, you'd have expected it to go further rather than be under hit.
He just didn't have a natural angle. He was trying to punch it up the table and create an angle that really wasn't there. Before he played it, I was just considering whether he would accept the fact that he couldn't get good onto that yellow and play on a plant. As I say that, Andy's come up with he's not used his free shot very well at all. That's almost a disaster.
That's not a good shot at all from Andy Blurton. But of all the ones that you'd want to get right, well, of course the free shot has the biggest margin for error because you're at the table no matter what. But it's such an opportunity to develop, and I think if anything he's almost made it more difficult for himself.
He has, although I think the reason I say it was almost a disaster, I still think that the three reds at the bottom of the table, I think the one that's slightly loose goes to the bottom left. He can play that off the cushion and the yellow, I think, and that will just open up the pocket, and the other two, the top one of the other two, goes to the bottom right. So I actually think, although it looks a disaster, I still think he's able to get around the problem.
Well, we'll certainly be hoping so.
He's just overrun that positional shot as well, so that there needs a bit more work on this next shot. Okay, that's not bad. That's pretty good. He can just pot this red, come on and off the cushion, leave himself fairly straight on the red that's sort of loose from that cluster of three. If he gets straight on that, I think he'll be able to open up this frame.
Well, that's the key shot. Of course, don't forget he is facing a match point here, Andy Blurton. He has to win this frame to stay in the competition. Can't afford any mistakes here. He's going to use the extension just to appease that shot clock, let it run down. He doesn't want to be hearing the beeps as he takes on these pressure shots. They already come loaded with enough pressure at this point.
Yeah, clear his mind.
We're certainly playing that top red.
I think this is easier than it actually looks. I think this is comfortable to play red. Play the red into the jaw. The red goes into the yellow and into the pocket. The yellow goes away, and the white is naturally going to be on the top one of the two reds that are together to the other corner pocket, and that will just unravel the other one. So that they look horrible, but I think these are okay.
Yeah, you can see there that by itself looks pretty tight, but if he uses jaw first into yellow, I think you're right, it should be okay. Oh, not that thin though.
I think he's left the yellow on as well.
He's played it too thinly and just not given himself enough.
And the yellow does go.
I think so.
This is Lee's chance. This is a golden opportunity to win the match.
Well, there we see it. Goodness me, that's close.
I thought it did from the overhead, but it's the same as Andy. I think he might have been able to make that, but it's probably the right choice if he didn't think he could. I was wondering whether he could play cushion red and then in, but then I suppose that from the overhead it looked like it was on, but from that camera angle it looked like it definitely wasn't on. So he's played a very good shot.
Yeah, it comes to something when you hear a roar of approval for a safety shot. That's the emotion in this place at the moment.
Andy may be able to get a very good snooker. If he can play the two reds together.
Doesn't have time for his extension. He's got to play it.
Has he got the snooker? I don't know. No, he hasn't. That was a good chance for Andy, because Andy's going to need to get a snooker to be able to develop that corner, or either come up with a skill shot. And that was a good chance to get a very good snooker that would have been tricky for Lee to get out of.
Just to clarify that, almost, if Andy can get a snooker, it would mean if Lee missed that snooker, Andy can just use his free shot just to pot that ball over the pocket, clear it up. That's a nice swerve. And Lee's in 100% control of this frame, because even if, you know, you might look at that and think, oh well, he's left a red potable, it's irrelevant really for Andy, because he can't win the frame from there.
No, and the other, there's just such limited skill shot options that, yeah, it's no advantage to Andy at all to pot this ball. He needs to find a way of coming up with a very good snooker.
That shot where Lee left the yellow over the pocket might be the shot that wins in this match. That's how important it could be. Yeah, Lee's just tried another snooker. Andy, I should say.
Yeah, so will Lee go for this? He can. The only red, I think, the only yellow he can pot, I think, is the yellow to the top left. I think length of the table, it's very thin. He may just choose to play a controlled safety at that end of the table. Oh, he's going for it. He can see this yellow over the pocket. So this is his moment.
Doesn't want to go in off. Doesn't. It's held.
It's not great though. It's not great. He's still on, but it's probably as awkward as it could be, being on the cushion, and it looked like it's not a great angle. All he can really do is try and punch this through. He needs to cue this well.
Well, he's not hanging about. He's going straight after it.
Ah, that's a great shot. That's such a better shot than it looks. Really had to get through that well.
This yellow is missable. We've seen plenty of misses in the middle pocket so far, even in this final. Needs to get this right. He does. Where's the white ball and the black? It's pretty good. It's not the easiest shot in the world. He'd have wanted it to be dead straight.
He would have, yeah, an inch or two less, he would have loved it, but it's still fairly comfortable. Only the pressure of the situation.
Lee Warren for a place in the next round. He's done it! The local qualifier becomes the local hero. Lee Warren secures his place in the second stage of the IPA Freesports Champions Cup. What a win. Absolutely sensational.
An incredible performance from Lee. The way he held himself together there at the end was incredible. For me, the shot he pulled out at 4-4 is the shot of the tournament so far. Absolutely brilliant shot under extreme pressure. Fantastic.
And there we see the final match statistics. You can see there just how close it was all the way. Andy played his part in what was actually a very, very competitive final. And I think the amount of missed pots only added to the drama. It was so tense out there, you can forgive the players that.
Yeah, I think you can. There was definitely a lot of tension out there. I mean, 6 missed pots for Andy, and a couple of them were fairly comfortable. Is so unlike Andy, but that just shows how much tension was out there, and fantastic from Lee.
I think this might be an unmissable interview from Lee Warren, the winner here in Solihull. You'll see that after the break.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Solihull with our winner on the evening, Lee Warren. First of all, how do you feel?
Over the moon, brilliant. Just, I got no words to say what it is.
And it was such a nervy final. It seemed to be that both players were really. It was such a tense game. How did you feel you handled that tension to get through in the end?
Andy did quite well. Missed a few easy balls, so did Andy, and that's what led me in really to go 2-0 up. It's a big lead for me to first. I've only got to get 4 more, so it is what it is. Really, it's just, you got to hold it together.
And he did that really well. The shot, the reverse double towards the end there, possibly mine and Simon's shot of the tournament so far. Was there any a doubt in your mind to take that on? It was a really aggressive option at a time where you could have played defensive.
If I miss, I lose, and if I play a bad safety shot, I lose a frame. So might as well have a go. I'm only here at once.
Well, you say that. We'll see you in the second round. How much are you looking forward to that now?
Well, I've got nothing to lose again, have I? Carry on. Just carry on doing what I've got to do.
And do you think it's an inspiration to the other qualifiers who are still yet to play in this competition that you can qualify from the Riley's qualifiers and get yourself all the way through to the big names?
100%. There's a lot of players out there. Top draw. We've got one next week as well in here, so hopefully Matt Ward can tag along with me.
Well, we look forward to seeing that. And a final word for the support you've had in here tonight. It's been brilliant. Everyone's been behind you.
Oh, it's been amazing. The support I've had in here is unreal. Local lad, bring the lads down. So.
Well, we can't wait to see you later on in the competition. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And let's take a final look at how he got there. Well, there we have it. That's how Lee Warren did it. He beat Phil Parkin 6-3 in our first semi-final. Luke Sanges was dispatched by Andy Blurton in our first semi, and the final we've just witnessed between Lee Warren and Andy Blurton, absolutely terrific. 6-4, and what a week we've had here in Solihull.
It's been a fantastic night of pool. Loved every minute of it. There's been great atmosphere in the arena as well, and just brilliant to see what Lee's done. It was such a great performance. So impressed.
Absolutely, and as Lee alluded to in his interview just then, we've got another local qualifier from Solihull. Can Matt Ward do it again for the Riley Solihull boys here in the West Midlands. He's got a tough one. He's up against a former world champion in Jack Whelan. Alex O'Donoghue and Andrew McKee make up the first semi-final in that one. What can we look forward to next week?
Well, Matt's going to take some inspiration from what Lee's done, and who knows, can he do it? Can he repeat? But as you say, it's going to be very tough. Alex O'Donoghue's our seed next week, but Jack Whelan is a former world champion, and there's very little between Alex and Jack in the seedings. But on current form, you'd say that Jack is probably going to be the favourite for the group. But Andrew McKee's also a fantastic player, so I think we're in for another fantastic night of pool.
Absolutely can't wait. Simon, thanks so much for your company tonight. We hope you've enjoyed it here on Free Sports, ladies and gentlemen. Been a wonderful night of Champions Cup action from everyone here in Solihull. Same place, same time next week. We'll see you then.
The IPA Freesports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.